It is 5:30 and I am calling the board meeting for 4/19/22 to order. Team, before we continue, we do have to go ahead and vote as a board to allow Mr. Arguello, who is currently joining us via WebEx, to join the meeting. Mr. Arguello, are you online?
Can we go ahead and vote on?
Yeah,
into-
a motion to allow
And I'll
Mr.
sec-
Arguello, when he does connect, to be able to join the meeting.
I'll second.
Okay, so I have a motion by Mr. Melendez, second by Mr. Bass. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Perfect, he can join the meeting. All right, team, so today, during our meeting for the opening, we're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance that is going to be led by Ryan Adams, Director of Athletics. The national anthem will be performed by the student choir of Horizon Middle School. Our mission statement will be read by Keith Anacata, Assistant Principal of Horizon Middle School. And as always, our interpretation services will be led by Dr. Lestenia Peñalosa, Executive Director of Multicultural Services. Before we get started, let's go ahead and join for a moment of silence. Thank you. If I can have Mr. Ryan Adams, please.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail, and the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets went where the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say 'twas that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Fantastic work.
Inspiring all learners to reach their highest potential as responsible and productive citizens.
Good evening and welcome. My name is Dr. Lestenia Peñalosa and I am here to provide interpretation services. Buenas noches, bienvenidos. Mi nombre es la doctora Lestenia Peñalosa y estoy aquí para proveer servicios.
Board members, now is the time when we go ahead and do our positive comments. I will go ahead and start with Mr. Melendez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Lately, there's been a lot of discussion about transportation issues and being short-staffed. So I visited some of the, departments there, and actually there was a job fair, and they actually had like a new training for new employees. And I felt like I had to give my recruitment speech, and I was like, thank you. Uncle Sam needs you. We're so short-staffed. Thank you for choosing to come here. You could chose a million other jobs to do right now because there's vacancies all over the place. And the fact that you want to take your time to drive a bus, we really appreciate it. And so staff was really nice. They went out there and I got on a couple of buses and I saw some of the technology that's on there. And we're going to be scheduling further appointments later on to speak with the vendors, because just like any new piece of technology, sometimes we may not be using all the bells and whistles. So just kind of doing, I see on the agenda, we have like professional development in the summer. And so they're going to have, they have like a new electrician there. And the guy was really excited. He was like, look at this, look at that, look at this, look at that. But sometimes not everyone has the same level of enthusiasm, especially when they're brand new and they have to learn everything. So that's one of the things that we're going to be focusing this year is making sure, that transportation department not only has what they need in order to get recruited, but to be retained. And so that was another topic that we were speaking about as well, that I had spoke with Dr. Pace and say, every year we have like a new theme. Every time we have like new principals, the new teachers. Last year was meet the child where they were, because during the pandemic, a lot of students stayed home and then they had to come back. And they had a lot of social and emotional issues. We're learning how to transition back into the classroom. So that's really what was the focus was, hey, meeting students where they are and meeting all their emotional needs as much as their academics. So this year, it's about staff. We need to keep staff. We're growing. We got some new schools that are coming online. We have to hire new employees. And we want to make sure that they feel that this is where they want to be. And this is a career path for them, that this isn't just like a temporary job. This is a calling. This is, our students are the most precious asset we're ever going to own. I could look at my net worth. My house ain't nothing compared to my son. You know what I mean? And so, and I feel like a lot of parents here feel the same way. And so we really have to do the best that we can to be able to keep them in there. And so the other thing that we spoke about also at the job fair, they were able to reduce some of the potential applicants, but some of them came from Puerto Rico or from Venezuela and didn't speak English. So I'm going to ask you, Dr. Pace, later, that Alco was right across the street. And I told them, wait a second, if they don't speak the language, but they have a great resume, everything else is good, send them across the bridge, right, or send them across the street and have them go to Alco and get that certification to learn the language, because they already went through the interview process. They went there and said they want to join our crew, but they don't have the proficiency yet in order to be a full-time employee. So I think that's something that was neat that kind of came out of there. So, other than that, I just really want to say, thank you everyone for dealing with this situation. The pandemic, even now, the federal government said, hey, you don't need a mask on transportation anymore. So we're crossing that bridge, and it's never easy. And I understand that's a huge sacrifice amongst everybody to really say, we have to prioritize because we can't do everything. And unfortunately, when you prioritize, some things kind of fall through the cracks. But these are positive comments. So I'm saying, but the fact is that, for the staff who did stick through the tough times, we're going to support you as much as we can. And so I really appreciate everything that you guys do, because really the school district is nothing without everybody. Because with that, I'll leave you with this, Madam Chair. When I visit the places, I don't like just visiting like the management and the good staff. I go out there and I try to shake hands with everybody out there, because I really appreciate that this is an organization that needs everybody to function. And so I just really want to say thank you everybody for doing this. And again, you can choose 10 million career fields, but I'm really glad that each one of the employees at our school district dedicate themselves to education.
Very well stated. Thank you. Mr. Bass?
Always hard to follow. You're so well-spoken, But it's funny you say, I was talking with a teacher, and she summed it up best last week. She said, we do our job because we love your kids. And better words could be said. But I want to thank all of you for attending tonight, and I thank you for the public engagement. I've been able to speak with several of you, and I appreciate the input. I enjoy this time of year, and I'll tell you why. I know we're in the middle of testing, and I know that's a little bit stressful, and I wish the best for our students and hope they test well. But we have our OBC championship games. A lot of athletic teams are going head-to-head, and it's been great to follow all of you on social media and in person. Our theater groups and our choral groups have been putting together some great performances. Hats off to St. Cloud High School and their SpongeBob SquarePants musical. It was very well attended, very well received, and the crowds were huge in that. So congratulations on a successful event. Prom. It's just so nice to be able to see us get back to a regular prom schedule and watching all of the young adults and get all dressed up in their finest. I will say though, I'm struggling with some part of this, because you boys wearing the high water, no socks, and the bright colored shoes. I know it's a trend, but I'm just having a hard time with it. It's that look, Some things that I hope that I can get you to participate in. On April 30th, Tohoku-Kalika High School is doing their first annual golf tournament. Put together a team. It's going to be out at Kissimmee Bay and support the school. I'm sponsoring 2 holes, and I'm going to try to get together some of my golfing buddies and put together some teams. Mr. Inwood, I've thanked you before, and I want to thank you again. Mr. Inwood is building some picnic tables. His construction group is building picnic tables for the Council on Aging. They'll be wrapped up next week. So, Mr. Inwood, if you're listening, let me know when they're finished. I'll grab a trailer and pick them up and deliver them. I know it's late in the game, but this is something that I wanted to do. I finished my last classes to be a substitute teacher, so Miss Tanya and I are going to, the next couple of weeks, go start substituting in some of our schools, and I'm looking forward to that. Really, I'm looking forward to that. And that's all I have for right now. Thank you.
Mr. Bass. Dr. Pace?
Well, thank you, board members, and I am honored tonight to invite Congressman Soto to come forward. Congressman Soto has a very special announcement about some things that he's bringing back to our community to help support our school system. So, Congressman Soto?
Thank you, Dr. Pace, Chairwoman Castillo, Board Member Melendez, Board Member Bass. Thank you for having me tonight. It's an honor to be able to work with the school board over these last few years, and there's a lot to brag about. I'm excited that 2 years in a row we've seen a student from the Osceola School of the Arts winning the Congressional Art Competition and being featured in the halls of Congress. I'm excited about being able to work with you all on the CARES Act, the American Rescue Plan, to help make sure you all have the funding and to give you local control to be able to do your vision as a school board to help respond to the pandemic, open schools safely, and help our students, our teachers, education personnel, of course, our parents and others. And I applaud you on that leadership. And I'm also proud to announce that 2 students this year have already received appointments to U.S. Service Academies from Osceola County. We can applaud that, I know, as a veteran. A young man from Tohoku-Kalika High School is going to be heading to West Point, and a young lady from Celebration High School will be headed to the Naval Academy. I know you all have been mentioning about them more. I'll let you continue to work on that. Thank you, Dr. Pace, and thank you to the school board in particular for helping us host U.S. Secretary of Education Miguel Cardona. We were joyed to be able to attend Ventura Elementary School and hear from Principal Graham, of course, my wife, Assistant Principal Amanda Soto, and great to hear from our teachers. We will follow that up with grant requests, right? With grant requests to the Secretary to help out. Tonight we're here, an honor to work on funding for your proposal at Neo City. It's been an honor for years to work on the funding to help get the microchip manufacturing center there. Many of you know it was this school board, including school board member Clarence Thacker and others, that came up with this concept of this pipeline of talent to make sure that we could have kids from Osceola get the STEM education they need and be able to build their businesses right here in Osceola to improve our economy here. And so I'm excited to announce that a community budget funding request that you all put together was approved in the 2022 budget for $461,001. Well spent. We can applaud that. Thank you so much. And it's, you know, our former state representative, current district director, John Cortez. This project is what you asked for, immersive learning environment in advanced manufacturing and engineering, biomedical engineering, and cybersecurity. More specifically, the project provides paid internships to high school seniors to grow the pipeline of high-wage and high-demand jobs in Central Florida. This is about jobs. This is about that talent pipeline. And going forward, we look forward to your request for this year. We're in that process, so we'll get some great announcements soon. Heavy on the wink of the eye there. But I look forward to having great news going forward, too, on this 2023 year's budget request. We want to continue to make sure our tax dollars we send to Washington come back home right here to Osceola to benefit our kids, to benefit our teachers, to benefit our community. So thank you, everyone. And if you'll indulge us in a nice photo.
Principal Meechan is here as well. Principal Meechan is here on behalf of Neo City Academy. Principal Meechan.
Oh, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for your amazing work. If you'd like to indulge us with a photo real quick, is that okay?
Yeah, Dr. Payes, come on in.
We'll come to you if you want.
Oh, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Wow, I can't follow better news than that. So we will go ahead and continue. Great surprise. So we do have a fine arts moment sponsored by Horizon Middle School. So whenever they're ready, we are. Ooh. Cinderella, I think.
Can't you believe it's been 16 years that we've been raising Sweet Aurora? Yes, lovely little Aurora. Sweet and little? Where have you been for the last 16 years? Teenagers are the worst. Imagine if you were raised with no friends hiding out from that evil curse. It's her birthday, and we're going to celebrate it before we take her home. Now, what do you think of the dress? It's not exactly how it looks in the book, is it? Oh, I've improved it. Perhaps if I add a few more ruffles, what do you think? I think so. What do you think? I think I had enough of this nonsense. I think we ought to think of Aurora and what she would think of this nonsense. I'm gonna go get those wands. Perhaps she's right. Here they are. Good as new. There. What is that? I got her a car. A car? It's got power steering and she gets to make the payments. You know you can't scare her like that. You can't get angry with me for teaching her responsibility. I know you get offended with me for getting her shiny presents, but I love it. They always get so upset when I use my magic, but they have perfectly fine wands as well. It's not my fault they wanted to live without magic all these years. No, never in a million years would I ever get offended by you or your magic. It's just that you must be responsible for your actions. Actually, I am. You too. If you want to have this conversation now, I'll have it now. Bring it on. I think she was just mad that you didn't let us in on the secret. Mary has a strong mouth, and half the time she doesn't realize she's hurting people. Sometimes you say things you don't even see as offensive. Like when you say it all in front of us, you know that makes us look like inferior fairies. I am so tired of all this nagging. For the past 16 years, I have dealt with your tilted cakes, her jibbity-jabbing, and your terrible color scheme. Make it pink. Make it blue. Make it pink. Make it blue. How about green? Quiet! Well, at least I don't talk about the way you look. Fauna, don't. Don't hate me because I'm beautiful. That's it! Pause! Stay tuned for the next season of The Real Housewives of the Black Forest.
Nice job, ladies. Team, I apologize. It seems that we do have Mr. Arguello on the line, so we want to go ahead and recognize him for his positive comments. Mr. Arguello, you're recognized.
Got the mute button.
Okay. Mr. Argolla, whenever you are ready, we will make sure that you get your positive comments in. While we wait, the next thing that we want to go ahead and recognize is our high school state champions, and I think Mr. Ryan Adams, you're going to help us with that?
Good evening, everyone. Dr. Pace, members of the board, thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. We are here tonight to celebrate our state champions. We have 3 schools that we'll be recognizing, so I'd like to first call down Celebration High School, their principal Connor Gilbert, athletic director Rick Trivett, swimming coach Samantha McCrary, and assistant coach Kelly Walton, their swimmer Felipe Costa, and then, of course, the golf team, head coach Rakaya Taylor, and their members of the golf team. Thank you, please come down. It's a little loud out there, so I think it's...
We'll give them a moment.
You're the next contestant. Bryson. Come on down.
Welcome.
Right up front, please. We have a lot of bling coming up here tonight, so it's going to be fun to celebrate. First, we'd like to introduce Felipe Costa. He is the 2021 FSA State Champion in the 100-yard backstroke. He was placed 6th in the 100-yard freestyle. He was part of the 200 medley relay team and also the 200-yard free relay, finishing in 6th place. But over the last 2 years, he has accumulated 5 medals at the state championships and obviously completing first place this year in the 100 yards. So congratulations, Felipe. Not only was Felipe honored with the first team All-Orlando from the Orlando Sentinel, but earning the state championship, also he received All-American honors, and he followed that up by qualifying for the Nationals in Greensboro, North Carolina. So congratulations. The Celebration Golf team is here tonight. Dr. Pace, you're going to love this one. I know you love all of our state champions, but every once in a while, every couple of years, we have a team that wins the state championship, academic state championship. And the girls golf team this year competed their season with a 3.882 overall team GPA. Not only were they talented in the classroom, but they were also finished 2nd place in the OBC and qualified for regionals this year. So again, ladies, congratulations on your season. We got to tighten in here a little bit so we can
What about the swim team?
make sure you can see the plaque. There you go. In the middle. He's got so many medals, we can share them.
First one in 30 years.
Yeah, so far.
You do have to do as a parent, we
Yeah,
know.
which camera do you look at?
Ladies and gentlemen, Celebration High School, congratulations. Next, we'd like to introduce Osceola High School, their head coach, Jim Bird, and his 3 individual state champions, Anderson Heap, Gunnar Holland, and Cooper Haas. Even more bling.
Oh, you can hear them coming.
You can hear them coming.
You're not sneaking up on anybody.
These 3 young gentlemen that we have in front of us obviously are state champions, but I want to read some stats for you. First of all, head coach Jim Bird has been at Osceola High School for many, many years, back to even the 80s is how far we're going to go back. But not only that, he has had the privilege of coaching wrestling for many years, and this is his 16th year in a row of having at least one individual state champion come out of Osceola High School. So congratulations, Coach Bird. We have with us Anderson Heap is a sophomore. He was finished this season at 50-5, was the state champion at the 126-pound weight class. He won 8 tournament championships during the year, all while maintaining a 4.3 weighted GPA. We also have Gunnar Holland, a sophomore. He was 46-10 this year, state champion at 160 pounds. He won 6 individual tournaments this year while maintaining a 4.21 weighted GPA. Both of these gentlemen were also named All-Americans this year. And last but never least, we have Cooper Haas as a junior. He is a 3-time state champion. He went 58-3 at the 138-pound weight class, 8 individual championships, a 4.05 weighted GPA, and Cooper has already committed to West Point after he graduates. And only the second time in the history of the school, Cooper this past, I think it was last month up in Virginia, won the, is a national champ at the 132-pound weight class, only the second time in the history of Osceola High School, and I believe Osceola County. So Cooper, congratulations. Great job. Osceola High School, congratulations. And our last recognition tonight is St. Cloud High School. Their principal, Nate Fancher, head coach, John Stump, and the unified basketball team. Tonight, St. Cloud is here for their unified basketball team, where they, this past year, they were named, won the 2022 FHSA State Championship, 1A State Championship for unified. And I don't know if you've ever had the opportunity to see unified basketball, but it is basketball at its purest. And to watch these athletes and these partners play together, compete together, it is absolutely fun to watch. And Coach Stump, we want to thank you for all the time and dedication you put into these student athletes. It's been a couple of years since you've been up here, but their last championship was in 2016. But we certainly... You've won it twice, that is correct. That now gives you bragging rights over Poinciana because they've only won it once. So yes, you are correct, Mr. Fancher. So, but we certainly want to congratulate you and wish you all the best as you continue through the process. And we look forward to seeing you guys compete next year out on the hard court. So again, congratulations, St. Cloud High School. You guys.
Point guards in the front. Who's the center?
8.06. I'll see an 8.06. There's not an 8.06.
Ladies and gentlemen, St. Cloud High School.
All right, Dr. Pace, I know you have appointments, but I think that we finally made contact with Board Member Arguello. Board Member Arguello, did you want to chime in on your positive comments, please?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, that's nice. So, for my positive comments, I would like to thank the governor for promoting fathers and fatherhood in general with his recent legislation. With fathers in the home, kids do better in schools and they do better in life. So I just wanted to acknowledge that and thank him. I also wanted to thank Mr. Inwood as well. Mr. Inwood had a contest, a construction contest, where he had a team of, I don't know, 40 or 50 kids competing their hearts out for the chance to build a frame wall, a miniaturized frame wall and handrail. And I have never seen kids in school in my life so concentrated and so devoted to their goal of building those walls. It was really something to see. And as much as it might have been an attempt to win a prize, in fact, there were thousands of dollars of prizes thanks to Lowe's. It was really about their devotion to their teacher and the impact that he has on their lives. And I just can't thank him enough for what he does on a daily basis. I also wanted to thank Mr. Inwood again for donating to date more than $50,000 worth of supplies to the school district. Between cleaning supplies and other stuff, he has really gone above and beyond. Obviously, this is not a person who needs to be teaching to survive. He teaches to live, and he's an exemplary human being and teacher. And I wish that we had 1,000 of him. Our district would be better. Thank God we have several thousand of other ones like him, and I'm sure after 30 years, they'll be just like Mr. Inwood is the hope. So I wanted to thank him. I also wanted to thank Lowe's again and Skills USA for that. I also wanted to thank Mr. Inwood for taking all of his students and the CTE program in general for their job fair that they had, where they were hiring. I saw dozens of companies that were hiring kids for internships over the summer, and the vast majority of those internships lead to jobs at those companies in very high-paying jobs. In fact, I met one of his students, a former student, who is now a project engineer for a construction company on a commercial site, and she graduated, I think it was in 2020. So she went from student to master, just like one of the judges at his construction contest, who was the lead plumber at a commercial job site. So it's just a tremendous amount of success that they're putting through that program. So congratulations to Dr. Arnott and his team, and to Mr. Inwood and their team, and for everything that they do. I also wanted to thank a specific teacher. There is a teacher who was brave enough to come out and speak out on behalf of her students to protect her students. And she was immediately harassed and bullied and threatened, is my impression. And I don't know if these things are true yet. Obviously there needs to be an investigation, but this teacher, against all of this opposing force, is standing up for her students. And I commend her. I think she's there in the room tonight. And that is all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, Dr. Pace, we want to go ahead and do the appointments and transfers.
Yes.
Too.
Yes, Madam Chair and members of the board, I am honored tonight to invite Miss Tiffany Bell to the podium. Board members, Tiffany has been an ESOL GED instructor in our district over at Alco in her part-time. She's been a reading teacher, a department chair, a literacy coach, and currently serves as the Dean of Students at Osceola County School for the Arts. She received her bachelor's degree in elementary education from the University of South Florida and her master's degree in educational leadership from National Louis University. In her interview, she spoke of her passion for working with adult learners and helping them see a path to a better future, either through the GED or ESOL program or on into an industry certification program. And so I am recommending her appointment as an assistant principal at our Osceola Technical Alco Joint Poinciana campus. Ms. Bell.
Oh, motion approved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Melendez, second by Mr. Bass. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. Would you like to say something?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Good evening, Dr. Pace, members of the board. Thank you, friends and family. I would like to take a moment to thank Dr. Pace, Mr. Phelps, Mr. Flowers, Dr. Allen, Dr. Reyes, Dr. Evans, Mr. Arnott for allowing me this amazing opportunity to serve in a new capacity for the students and citizens of Osceola County. To my amazing family and husband, my daughter Maddie, who's here with me today, my dad, and friends and support. Thank you for your constant support, encouragement, and love. My OCSA family is also here with me today. Thank you so much for always allowing and believing in me and having that constant faith. Thank you, Dr. Evans, when she was at OCSA, Mr. Neal, Mr. Connors, Dr. Long, and Dr. Guilford. Thank you for your knowledge, mentorship, and support. I've recently completed the Assistant Principal Academy as well with here from SDOC. And so I just want to go ahead and give a moment for thank you to Ms. Ramey for also being there and teaching us as well. I'm excited and blessed to begin my journey at Osceola Technical College and working with Ms. Collins and her outstanding team and staff. So thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And then if I could also invite Mr. Santiago to the podium and have Ms. Ray stand. Christina Ray has been serving as the principal at Westside K-8. She has expressed a desire for a lateral transfer into our senior manager for school leadership training and development to continue her service to the district in furthering the development of our principal pipeline and in particular a mentoring program. And Mr. Santiago, who has served as the principal at Discovery Intermediate for the last 6 years, has expressed a desire to have a different leadership experience. And so it is my recommendation that we will be transferring Ms. Ray into our Department of Professional Development and Mr. Santiago from Discovery to Westside K-8, effective June 1st. So they'll have some transition time, finish the school year in their current spots, help us have a great end of the school year, and then be ready to start the new year in a new facility.
Okay. Move to approve it. You want to do both?
Yes, it's
Okay.
one.
It's all one thing. It's all one. Okay.
All right.
Move to approve.
Second on the motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Bass, second by Mr. Melendez. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Congratulations, Mr. Santiago.
Congratulations.
No speech.
You want to say something? You don't have to.
I was hoping to get out of it just a little bit.
No pressure.
I looked over at Dr. Allen like I'm gonna sneak out now. First of all, I want to thank Dr. Pace and leadership team and the board for the trust they've had in me in the last X number of years of being a principal. Definitely did not take that responsibility lightly, so thank you for your trust in me. To the Discovery family, I couldn't ask for a better family to start my career with. Definitely appreciate all the staff, my APs, leadership team, all the teachers, prepared professionals, for all that they do and the work that we put in to help serve the Poinciana community. So I just can't say enough about that experience and the opportunity to work with such great people. I look forward to continuing the great things that are happening on West Side, and hopefully I can fill Ms. Ray's shoes and continue to support that team as we continue to do great things. So again, board, Dr. Pace, Dr. Allen, thank you guys for this opportunity. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Congrats.
Sorry, I gotta do the pause for one last thing. I want to thank my wife, who's here supporting me. She supported me in this journey from the beginning, and I couldn't be able to do it without her. So thank you to my wife Nicole for all of her support. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Will Discovery be next board meeting or something like that? Because I think we're causing a domino effect. I think still haven't avoided yet.
That is exactly why we're starting this process today, Mr. Melendez, because it does often create a domino situation here. So we'll be doing some advertisements tomorrow and then hope to bring you a slate of appointments and transfers at the next 2 board meetings.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you. Dr. Pace, you have your superintendent update?
I do, Madam Chair, members of the board, and members of the community, just a few things to share with you tonight. Again, we'll be providing some updated information based on questions and concerns that have been raised, as well as some highlights of some positive things happening. First of all, since our last board meeting, in consultation with our general counsel, we are initiating a district-level book review for the 4 titles that were referenced at that particular meeting. While no official book challenges have been officially turned in, and in accordance with Board Policy 4.30, we typically start at the school site level, I felt like with the amount of concern that had been raised, it was important to go ahead and bring that into the second step, which is a district-level review. This review will then make recommendations to the school board on whether the content manner violates state statutes or community standards, and Mr. Kreppenbacher will be giving an update on that process and on reigning Supreme Court laws right now at our next meeting. We has also initiated an opportunity for parents to make the decision about what types of access they have to books that are currently in our Media Center collections. Parents may choose unlimited access, so students will have full access to books in our current media centers. There may be mature content, books will be labeled. Parents can choose to have limited contact. That would mean check out books in the library, but nothing involving mature content. Or they can say that they don't want their student to check out any books in our particular media center. That form is currently on our website at www.osceolaschools.net/mediacenteraccess. The parent's choice will be recorded in Destiny, which is our library book circulation system, and we've already provided information to our media specialists about how to make sure that they're monitoring that. At this time, we've only received 28 replies. So the 21 have chosen to allow their students to have unlimited access to books in the media center. 6 parents have chosen for their students to have limited access, and 1 no access. We'll be doing some additional work over the next few weeks to make sure this information is disseminated to parents and people in the community, and it will be a part of our back-to-school take-home packet at the beginning of next year. Our goal, as always, is to continue strengthening the outstanding school library media programs that we have, as we do believe that they support and enrich the learning experience for every child, every chance, every day. We are blessed to have incredibly talented, gifted media specialists in all of our schools across the district. That is an investment this board has consistently made, and not all school communities do have a certified media specialist in their media centers. So we feel like we are great, and we want to continue to get even better in this particular regard. There's also been a lot of discussion at our last couple of board meetings about concerns about school-level discipline. It's been reported that kids are having sex out on campus. Certainly, this doesn't happen nearly as frequently as it might have been implied, but we do know that sometimes things happen, and we have to respond to that, and we have to deal with that. But I think it's important that we're very clear what those discipline protocols are. First of all, any time that we have reason to believe that students may have been in a situation of physical, mental, or social emotional health, well-being, we are required as educators and as employees of the school district, both by statute and policy, to be mandatory reporters. If a case is considered to be child abuse, and an educator or a school district employee has not reported to DCF and law enforcement, they could face third-degree felony charges, or certainly discipline, all the way up to termination, according to our school board policy. This can mean anything from 2 kindergartners in the bathroom with some inappropriate touching to an allegation of sexual battery on or off campus. We are required to report. If the event happens off campus, we immediately put safety measures into place, but we have to be very cautious as we move forward and work with DCF and law enforcement to ensure that there's no additional trauma to victims through recurrent interviews and statements and those types of things. So we allow DCF and law enforcement to take the lead. When we can, we work alongside them, as those situations are investigated. Also have to remind you that all of our students and staff members have due process rights in accordance with our Student Code of Conduct and the law, the Constitution, which means that they are innocent until proven guilty. They have a chance to know what allegations have been made against them. They have a chance to provide a statement or give their side of the story. And they have a chance to identify potential witnesses for further investigation. So I just wanted to make sure that these procedures are clear to everyone, both in our schools, on the board, and in our community. We have talked before about the fact that we have seen an increase in discipline incidents in our schools this year. Part of that is we have 100% of our students on campus, other than the small portion that are going to Osceola Virtual School, as opposed to the 50% that we started with last year. We've also seen that this is a national trend, and that's one of the things that I'll be convening our district-wide staff to talk about today, as it relates to Goal 5 of our strategic plan, and what additional strategies or proactive measures we want to put into place before the next school year to address these concerns. In addition, we now have our School Board Safety and Security Committee fully formed. These are the 5 recommendations from board members for membership in that committee. Mr. Phelps will be working to schedule the first meeting. Remember, this is a group that will meet at least twice, once now to review discipline data and our Student Code of Conduct, to make recommendations back to the school board as we do on an annual basis, but also then to meet again this summer to see some end-of-year kinds of things and help us plan for the upcoming school year. We have asked 3 principals to participate in the meeting, not as voting members, but just to provide context and background, 1 from each level. So that would be Nadia Winston from Central Avenue Elementary School, Tom Rademacher from Neptune Middle School, and Joanna Santiago from Osceola High School. In addition, one of the things that we've seen a huge uptick in is drug and alcohol offenses, particularly for first-time users. So we're looking at a more proactive program in partnership with our Park Place Behavioral Health Care that would engage the parent and the student in education, treatment, as opposed to an automatic recommendation for expulsion. That information is going to be reviewed with our Safety and Security Committee, and then more information will be coming back to the board. But we want to try to take a proactive approach for those first-time users and seek help, keep them in school for shorter suspensions, but making sure that we're actually getting to the root cause of the problem. This would not be for distribution on our campuses. That raises to a whole different level when you're talking about distribution to other students for drugs or alcohol. And that is a mandatory recommendation for expulsion. In addition, in planning with Mr. Thorne and our IT team, we have decided that we're going to have our students keep their assigned one-to-one devices for the summer, except at those pivotal years where they're moving from either the type of device or onto a new school, or withdrawing from our school district. We know that our kindergarten and first grade students have had iPads. So we'll collect those iPads from our first graders at the end of the school year because they'll be getting a laptop in the fall to start to prepare them for more advanced computing and keyboarding. Our 5th grade students who are transitioning to 6th grade, 8th grade transitioning to 9th grade, and then obviously we want to retrieve the devices from our graduating seniors. But this is going to allow students to have their devices to extend their summer learning, participate in summer enrichment contests, as well as then allow us to hit the ground running in August because the new progress monitoring systems in place by the state must be conducted within the first 30 days of school. So we want to make sure that we have no delay because of the passing out and distributing of devices. Our IT team now has methodology to be able to push out updates to the system, clean those devices from afar so that we don't have to bring them all in and then reissue them. A few pieces of good news I wanted to share. First of all, as you know, during the pandemic, we had to close our schools to outside volunteers and even limited parent access in some respects in order to keep COVID as narrowly confined as we possibly could. Prior to the pandemic, we averaged 20,000 OASIS school volunteers each year. I am excited to say that this program has rebounded. We're up to 15,000 OASIS school volunteers this year. And I just want to take this opportunity to again say thank you to all the members of the community, our retirees, our parents, our community members who are engaging and helping to support reading, front office tasks, and just work side by side along with our staff to meet the needs as best we can. But we do appreciate our amazing OASIS volunteers. We're also going to be continuing to expand our communication channels with some new podcasts for parents. So we've started one called Everyday Pace. Our first two are in the can and getting ready to be pushed out with our Teacher of the Year, Taylor Kewick, and also our School-Related Employee of the Year, Cody Workman, talking a little bit about their roles in the school district and what really drives them to be successful and give their best every day to our students. I'm also super excited, Mr. Cook shared with us today that 5 of our community high schools have been recognized by the state's college access organization, FCAN, for increasing their FAFSA completion by over 5 percentage points compared to last year. So we want to give a big shout out to Harmony High, PASS, our Professional and Technical High, St. Cloud High School, Tohoku-Galaiga High School, and Zenith Accelerated Learning Academy for making sure that our students understand the importance of filling out this basic federal financial aid form as the starting point for helping them move forward. Also just wanted to again remind our community of our partnership with Osceola County and Valencia College to offer all members of the class of 2022 graduating classes an opportunity to go to Valencia College for either an AA program, an AS program, or one of their advanced manufacturing programs, or to our Osceola Technical School to enroll in an industry certification with all tuition and fees covered. So far, they've had 4,496 new hits on their website, 1,014 official inquiries following up to get that application. And again, just a reminder, a fundamental starting point is filling out that FAFSA form. And if any student has challenges from a family perspective in filling out that FAFSA form, their college and career counselors stand ready to help them. So that's all I have, Madam Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the update, Dr. Pace. We're going to go ahead and recess our board meeting to continue on with our board workshop.
I have my light on, Madam Chair.
Okay, I just recessed the meeting.
That's nice because I have my light on.
Would you mind adding those comments to the
Sure,
end,
I'll do
please?
that.
Thank you. So we're going to go ahead and recess the meeting for our next workshop, and we will be reconvene after.
Good evening, school board members. I'm here tonight to bring to you a set of proposed revisions to our school board rules, including our Code of Student Conduct and our student progression plan. The first 2 items that I will list are proposed new rules, and I'll add that any of these changes that are proposed tonight in this workshop, we are not asking for any action to be formally taken tonight on any of these rules, and we'll bring them back to you at the meeting in May in regards to the public hearing for these rule changes and ask for action at that time. The first 2 changes, 3.17, a new rule, recording of parent-employee meetings, establishes new policy to address parents' use of devices for recordings of meetings between parents and employees. Rule 8.18, disaster preparedness, establishes a new policy to comply with state and federal requirements regarding the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, for employees working in emergency shelters on school board property. The next set of rules are all proposed revisions to existing school board rules. 2.48, electronic records and electronic signatures, clarifies policy language to related to the appropriate use of electronic records and signatures. 2.90, tobacco-free and smoking-free environment, clarifies the existing policy language regarding required notice and actions when found for employees, students, and visitors and the use of tobacco. 5.14, homeless students, revises policy language to match changes in federal law regarding the Every Student Succeeds ESSA requirements. 5.343, use of timeout, seclusion, and physical restraint for students with disabilities, revises policy to reflect changes in Section 1001.43 Florida statutes. 5.51, Health Services Plan, revises policy language to reflect requirements within the new section 1014.06 Florida statutes, known as the Parents' Bill of Rights. 5.61, student illness, revises the policy language for the same purpose. 5.62, administration of medication, revises the policy language for the exact same purpose. 6.172, employment of school bus drivers, revises policy language to comply with recent changes to the Florida State Board of Education Rule 6A-3.0141, employment of school bus operators. 7.22, electronic fund transfers, clarifies policy language related to the appropriate use of electronic fund transfers. The next set of changes are revisions to our current Code of Student Conduct. These revisions reflect changes in recent state law and provide consistency with district practice. Page 1 revises the title page to reflect the upcoming school year 2022-23. Page 14 adds a section and policy language related to partial absences and replaces early truancy intervention team with the term problem-solving team throughout the document. Page 18 revises the definition of arson in order to comply with recent changes in state law. The next set of changes delete obsolete definitions of certain items, but they are referred to in others that are listed within the current Code of Student Conduct. These deletions include burglary, explosives, false fire activity, fireworks, and sexual offenses. These are just deletions of obsolete definitions, and the definitions of those things are retained in other items currently in the document. Page 36 adds the school year to the section Public Notice Regarding Student Records Form. Code of Student Conduct matrix of infractions and possible consequences are revised to reflect the changes that the state legislature has made in regards to school environmental safety incident reporting, CESR codes, and possible consequences codes in order to comply with those changes. And the Code of Student Conduct matrix of infractions and possible consequences also includes an addition for substance abuse course completion to the list of possible consequences. The next set of changes are for the student progression plan. The first change is listed there as it reflects changes in state law and current practice in the district. Page 1 revises the title to reflect the upcoming school year 22-23 and updates the revision date on the title page to reflect May 17th, 2021, which would be effective upon the board's approval of said change at the next meeting. Not the next meeting, but the meeting on May 17th, if that occurs. Page 26 revises language to update the early truancy intervention team to problem-solving team, just like it did in the Code of Student Conduct. And page 27 adds language related to partial day student absences to reflect consistent language that are proposed in the revision to the Code of Student Conduct. Those are all these going into the public hearing.
I do not. Mr. Arguello?
Mr. Boyd, the rule, the very first rule about the parents videotaping, what's the genesis of that rule change?
We receive sets of changes that are proposed from our consultant, NEFEC, which is a Northeast Florida Education Consortium. What they will do is, based on different incidents or occurrences throughout the state, recommend best practices, and that's what this law or proposed rule reflects.
Can you describe it, the change?
The changes establish, they establish guidance in regards to when or when that cannot occur. And it's based on the precedent, and also was reviewed by Amy Pish, our legal counsel, who's specific to ESE issues, to make certain that we were in compliance with all federal regulations and all state regulations related to that. Because that's where this normally comes up, is in the context of the IEP meetings, and that's really the genesis of it.
In an IEP meeting, so what would be, why would you prevent that or tighten the restriction on the parent to record that meeting?
Oh, there are a number of reasons that are best answered by legal counsel, but I will say that what has happened in the past is sometimes if someone shows up to record, they don't want the district to also record, and we have a a policy and practice where we both record if that's the case. There's nothing that is being hidden because it's, a meeting where the parents invited to be there and participate. So we have nothing to hide, but there's practices that the attorneys request and have included in the law.
Okay,
I
thank you
mean,
very
in the
much.
proposed rule change.
Thank you.
Board, any other comments? I don't see any lights.
No, because the proposed rule change, I'll save for the new comments, not for now.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Boyd.
Thank you, Mr. Boyd.
Thank you very much, Board. I appreciate it.
John.
We are going to go ahead and adjourn the workshop and reconvene our regular board meeting. Mr. Arguello?
Yeah, so going back to the superintendent's presentation, it feels like a lot of these presentations are always fat and no meat. They're always 2 weeks late reacting to what was said in a previous meeting. And so I'm not sure if that's the best way to go forward with these presentations. We can just assume what somebody's going to say when it's just a blanket denial on everything, saying that everything is fine. Really, I think it would be better to start seeing solutions on these presentations so that we know that the issues that are being raised are being fixed, not so that we're being told that they're okay. I don't think that anybody's okay with just being told that everything is fine. And that's kind of what it seems like. I had a question. How did you choose the 4 members that were on the committee? There was a committee.
The security committee?
Yeah. The
We
4
were
members?
asked, we were asked to turn in names. I know
But there were only 4 names on that.
No, there are 5.
There were 5, okay. I thought there were 4, I saw. Before I looked up and it was gone. So how do we know, especially when it comes to bullying, harassment, sexual assault, how do we know that our procedures are being followed? And why does it take so long to answer that? It's not like anybody's being asked to define moral character. How do we know on paper that the procedures are being followed when someone makes a complaint?
We have follow-up conversations, Mr. Arguello. I do not write down every time I call a principal and talk about the way something was handled.
Don't you think that would be appropriate, though, right?
Mr.
Especially
Arguello,
something
we
as
have
serious.
80 schools.
I don't care about how many schools we have. What I care about is how many students we have who have been sexually assaulted or are coming forward with that claim, and we don't know if they're being handled properly, and we're depending these kids in a life-altering situation potentially to just a phone conversation. Oh, you handled it okay? Okay, no problem. Thank you. Bye. Click. To me, that's not good enough. I don't think it's good enough.
Members of the board, let me just put for the record, every employee, board member, anybody affiliated with this district, to the extent they are put on notice of the abuse of a child, I'll use that term to cover sexual too, are obligated to report it to DCF. In addition, I have directed before, and I hope it continues to be followed, the minute a principal's on notice or a faculty member, they're to tell the SRO immediately.
So
And
what about the
law
space?
enforcement, because when you're dealing with a sex issue, you've got to really, depending upon the age, I don't want any of us interviewing that child. There are specialists within law enforcement, and you can actually hurt the child more if you don't know how to interview a child who's been a victim. Now go up the ladder, and you get to older children, like high school. You can get accused, once you get the report, of interfering in a law enforcement investigation or a DCF. Now, if DCF turns it down, yes, law enforcement has it. Because sometimes it's child on child, and DCF will go, that's not us, and then you give it to law enforcement and let them resolve it. I do not legally recommend that we make the final decision on any allegation regarding the sexual abuse, rape.
That's outside of our scope, right? So I'm talking about the space between law enforcement and our school administration, right? So that we basically we're compelled to report, we do the report. How do we know that in taking that information, right, we're doing it correctly and professionally? That's what my concern is, because what I have, hold on, Frank, I have various members of the community coming to me, telling me that this process was not handled in a professional or appropriate manner. That's what my concern is. So how do we know that that is happening?
A couple of ways. One, anybody who thinks the process has not been followed properly, I know that I would expect the superintendent to have me look at it. And if it was not followed properly by a member of the staff, my reputation is unmerciful if it involves the abuse of a child.
Great. So
Okay.
if a student comes, they say
Right.
that this issue happened, then the administrative personnel says, no, this is what happened. Well, I told Dr. Pace, so you asked Dr. Pace. Well, I had a phone call with her, and in the phone call, she told me she did everything right. So that's our level of accountability?
No.
Right? You see my point?
because
There's a lacking.
Whenever Dr. Pace has talked with me over the years, I've done the same thing. I said, Dr. Pace, did we notify DCF? Did we notify law
But I'm
enforcement?
not talking about that, Frank. So I know that they're going to notify law enforcement or they go to jail, right? I'm talking about the act. How do you know that this was intaken properly? How do you know that the student was handled appropriately at the time? And how do you know that all the paperwork was handled or that it wasn't curtailed? I think that we're going to find out because there's going to be members of the community that are going to speak about this.
Okay.
But
First of all, in fairness to the employees, whoever they are, I appreciate people may speak about it, but I've done this for 40-plus years, and I know these cases cold, and I know there's a lot of facts that may not come out tonight. And I don't, and I will not talk about a case like that because I don't want the name of the victim said publicly if they've already been traumatized. Nor this board has any ability to respond other than to say thank you and then follow up. So you can't draw a conclusion from that, all right? In
Fair
fairness
enough.
to everybody.
But you said that there's facts that will come out, right? But facts can't come out if we're not taking facts in. There's no documentation. This is all a phone conversation, right?
There is. If somebody says they reported it to someone, all right? I don't want a principal to sit there and interview, I'm going to pick a female, who says, I have been sexually assaulted, all right? I want an expert from law enforcement or the Department of Children and Family Affairs. There is so much damage that can be done to a victim, number one. Number two, I'll give you an example of a case I had in Orange County. In comes a girl, says I'm being sexually molested. We immediately removed the teacher, which we would if it's a faculty member or any employee. In come the specialists from the sheriff's department, and they come to me and say, it's not the employee. The girl was crying out for help. It's her uncle. So you don't do a big interview. You simply take the report, say thank you, and then you turn it over on those type claims. Those are the abuse of a child is the absolute worst thing that could ever occur, and that's the one you don't want your staff in the middle of. You want outside people telling you. Now, where there's a problem is if they get the report and they don't do anything with it. And I've had those cases too. I had two principals who resigned in Orange County. They could either get charged with felonies or they could leave. And I work with the state attorneys, so it's, if you.
So here's the thing, okay? And I'm not talking about the aspect from law enforcement forward. I'm not talking about that portion of the reporting. Everybody's going to do that, right? Because you have to. Here's my concern is, there's several people, right, who have been contacted and bullied and harassed potentially from preventing them to come here and speak publicly about their experience in this school district. So why would the school district or any employee of the school district attempt to prevent someone from coming here and sharing their experience?
First of all.
Hold on, I'm not done.
Right.
So that's one, right? That makes it very suspicious, right? The fact that someone would take so much action to prevent someone from coming here and speaking on a matter, right, is troubling to me. And it speaks volumes. So my question as a school board member now is to say, you know what? This would resolve that problem if and I don't know why anyone would be opposed, if we had a written record of what was done, how it was handled, and then that was kept in our files so that everyone in the world can go back who has access to that, and we should have access, goes back to it and says, this is what happened, this is how it was handled. And then when a mom comes, or when a student comes, or years later, or an attorney comes, then we can always go back and say, you know what, here it is, this is what happened. No, but, oh, well, where's my record? Well, I talked to the superintendent over the phone.
Now I hear what you're saying exactly, okay. Two
So I'll
separate.
move on, because
two
there's a
s-
bunch of other
right,
things.
Two separate things on that.
Well, Mr. Melendez has a question.
I'm still going,
Can I-
but he's,
Respond to
He's
that
I'll
one
wait
thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I am aware of a case today in which an employee purportedly is aware of a number of students, right? Now, understand, that employee ended up being directed, I am told, by the principal to report it to DCF, and law enforcement interviewed and wanted to know why wasn't it reported. It is a crime for somebody who's employed by this district or board members not to immediately report a report. The reason for that is, another case I had, child reports they're being molested at 2:30 in the afternoon. They don't report it to the next morning, and that night the child gets molested again. And that teacher lost their license. So that's one thing. Second, I will come back to you at the next meeting. I think it's very easy to have a process that if you are a member of this staff that gets a report regarding I'm using sexual assault.
or any type of situation where you're reporting to the administration. It shouldn't just be recall verbal communication. It should be on a documentation so that anyone in the community can come back and they have a record of what was done for that child.
If you report the assault or abuse of a child, I'll use that term, somebody should create a document. Now, I will tell you, the reason principals don't is that, or they may, some of them, is when they report to DCF, they're given a number that says it was reported. And that's their protection. And by the way, nobody can rely on somebody else to make the report, because if that other person doesn't make the report, you're all going down. All right? This is very technical, and if we need to, beef it up, Dr. Pace, I know that lots of records are kept I don't know the details of which, but I do know every time I've had to interview a principal, they pull out a file and show me where reports were made. Now, does it say, and I was told A and B and C? That comes out during the investigation.
Can we have her, because I have her light, did you need to answer with regards to this situation?
I did want to be clear, and I apologize if I was unclear before. Every time a DCF call is made, it is documented in our system, a copy is kept at the school, and a copy is sent to our SharePoint file. And that has been done for years and years and years, in which we record all the details that we know, the case number, was it accepted or not, and the name of the operator that we talked to, was it referred to law enforcement or not. When students go to the dean's office or someplace else to make a report, they are asked to write a student statement about the incident of the events of the incident. That is a part of our due process piece, okay? And those documents are available. I didn't think that's what you were asking for, but certainly we can make that information known if that's what you're looking for.
I just think that it should be very clear that we need to know that the professionals that work at the Osceola County School District are doing everything correct according to whatever our policies and procedures are for the benefit of the community. And that's not something that should be determined based on a phone call. It should be in a record, and people should have access to that who need to have access to it, specifically the parents, right? If that's my child, I want to see exactly what you did to handle my child's situation and your response.
And they
I
have
think
a
that's
right to
perfectly
that.
reasonable. So let me continue. I think one thing that's important is the fact that the rise in bullying, fighting, so on, it may be time to consider that some of this stuff is reflecting the materials in our school district that parents are complaining about, right? Because a lot of the parents, right, are seeing that that the stuff whatever's in these books is being played out in schools. And I think that's a pretty dangerous situation, because a lot of those books are basically talking about rape and so on, and it just seems like there's a lot of stuff going on in our schools. A lot more than I would have ever imagined. Certainly before I ran, I would have never imagined that this is one of the concerns that people are going to be coming to me with. You spoke about OASIS volunteers, and it's still true that any felon, a parent who may have a felony charge or a felony conviction, correct myself there, cannot take their kids on a school field trip. Is that correct?
Depends on if it's one of the exclusionary ones. The statute defines exactly what felonies, et cetera, and crimes can occur. Now, if the board wants to increase that and say any of this, do you follow me?
Mm-hmm.
You don't get to go, then they just need to say that's the policy they want to adopt. We adopt it, but I'd have to go through the statute.
So let's say gun charges.
I'll pull it up while I'm sitting here and give you the answer later on, okay?
Okay, because
It's very technical.
I find it ironic that we still have a felon who comes on campus potentially taking pictures with kids, right? Who, when a parent is not allowed the same opportunity to take their kid to a field trip, but we have somebody who comes in there and they're making money, right, to do that process. From what I understand, that just seems like a glaring problem for me. Thank you. That's all I got.
Thank you. Mr. Melendez, did you still want to?
Yes, ma'am.
Comment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. On two things related to reporting incidents. One thing that I'm concerned about is somebody's ability to report something anonymously. Because a lot of times, if somebody comes out there and says, hey, this person reported, you have like the fear of retaliation. Not that it would happen all the time, but, so I just want to make sure that throughout that process, I don't know if the state law requires that or, that we have the ability. Now, if they want to put their name on it, they can. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think that's why I think the state you mentioned gives them a number versus their name on it. So there has to be some kind of, I want people to not be afraid to report.
Our new hotline specifically tells them if they're comfortable, they can leave their name. If they're not, they can make it anonymous.
Correct. And then also, to me, that was one of the, we had spoke about this before at another, but we had these long board meetings, and I think it was at the very end. And during that safety committee, I wanted that to be like the first item on the agenda. Similar to the way we had the SRO task force, when we convened, before they made any kind of conclusions, we had staff give them, hey, what was the origin of law enforcement in our schools, et cetera, et cetera. I think that it's appropriate to have this process communicated to the advisory committee, like how does it get reported? And then also, I think it's important that it has like a decision matrix revealed too. So that way they know what it is that happened. So somebody reports an incident. A lot of people don't know that that alert gets notified to somebody at the district, somebody at whatever. I don't even know the exact person. So that's the whole purpose of having that committee to disseminate that information so everyone knows exactly what's going on. Because I did have an incident before, because I do expulsion hearings, and I definitely can't talk about those specifics. But sometimes we have some parents, they don't see the discipline of the other child. We don't tell them what happens. And sometimes, you get conspiracy theories, for lack of a better term, where they go, you know what, only my child was disciplined, only my child was notified, the other one wasn't. But in reality, I think that if we kind of go over the entire process with folks, and I think the committee is the perfect time to do that, and let them know what's the decision matrix. If it's a crime, then law enforcement's notified. If it's just a violation of student code of conduct, we make a recommendation for expulsion. You know what I mean? And so that way everybody feels like it's a uniform process and everybody's treated equitably, and there's not like any favoritism towards any kind of student or any kind of school. And I think that will help a lot of alleviate this. And so I don't want that to come to the school board. We have that school safety committee, and they're made up of representatives that we entrusted. And I think that let that process go work itself out, and then they can come back to us with recommendations, because they could look at the process and go, wait a second, something doesn't seem right, or if there's not enough documentation to support a claim, then I want to be able to have that committee that's already established to actually have teeth. Because that's one thing I want to do is I don't want to have community committees just to sit together and listen. I want them to be able to make recommendations and feel like their opinion is valued and be able to give that back to the board. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, board. The next thing on our agenda is the agenda modifications. I'll go ahead and start with Dr. Pace. Do you have any agenda modifications?
Mr. Arguello, are you going to do your own?
Yes, thank you.
None.
Thank you, Mr. Bass.
No, ma'am.
Mr. Melendez?
10.06.
That's
from
on
the
consent?
Yes, pull that one from consent. And then for new business, reviewing the process for approving and removing of the books and the rating system.
Thank
The
you.
book review process and rating system, basically.
This is just a conversation, right?
Yes.
No voting?
No voting.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Arguello?
8.02, 10.06, and 11.01.
Okay.
Going from the consent, and I have discussion on 13.01.
When we make a motion, can you just add that you have a discussion point for, is that it? Okay, so I have a new proposed complete agenda with the, taking out 8.02, 10.06, 11.01. Did I get that correct? Need a motion to approve?
Yes, please.
Motion approved the modified consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Melendez, a second by Mr. Bass. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so let's go ahead and discuss 8.02. I think that was Mr. Arguello.
Yes, so this is a pretty good sized contract. Is this for,
Talent tracking.
this is IBM though?
Mm-hmm. It's a name change.
Yeah, it's not a new award.
Right,
It's
right,
changing
right.
the name.
So my questions were, for the HR, are they doing a good job? Because if our contracts or if people who are applying are not getting a response in a reasonable amount of time, that would tell me that it's either the system or what else could it be?
Well, this system is our applicant tracking system, and it also is our onboarding system. So when a job offer is made, our new employees can take care of their onboarding tasks virtually. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't think I have a microphone.
Turn his towards you.
Okay. Well, I can talk loud because I'm a former OHS cheerleader, so hopefully everybody can hear me now. So this system, I know Larry can hear me because he's Cowboy alumni. This system is our applicant tracking system, and it's our system that does onboarding. Once an employee accepts employment, they do virtual onboarding tasks. The system is as good as the administrators make it. So the administrators have to go on and answer if they are going to accept employment or if they're going to interview the employee. So it's a great system. I have many compliments. I've had people all over the United States call me about it and ask me, and I've had many a compliment from people that are candidates in our system that apply at other school districts. They're very happy with this system. And we need to make it very easy for people to apply for jobs because that will make them apply for us instead of having to go through a lot of different things in other counties, so.
So is there a pool of applicants that are just like swirling around the ether in this system that they're not getting notifications or contact?
There are job requisitions that each school files. So it's the hiring administrator's responsibility to review the requisitions. We do have open requisitions that we are encouraging teachers to apply for because we are starting our hiring for next year. So we're trying to get a pool of applicants for administrators to be able to talk to. So,
But based on the gentleman who came, I think at the last board meeting where he was saying that it had been months or however long it had been since he had applied or whatever. And then he came to that board meeting and the next morning he was sent a notice saying that he was not hired, right? So are there a lot of this guy who are out there waiting for jobs or waiting for a response?
I actually called that principal myself the next day to find out what's going on because it's important to me to know the status, and if I have a customer that is upset about something, she had advised me that she was not going to fill the job because it's so late in the school year. She did not want to disrupt learning, and that her secretary had forgot to notify the HR department to deactivate the requisition. So that's why.
Okay, thank you.
And
That's all I
that
got.
gentleman had only applied for one job in our district, and I actually had our recruiter reach out to him to see if we could help to try to find him a spot in any of our schools.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion by Mr. Arguello, a second by Mr. Melendez. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Mr. Melendez and Mr. Arguello pulled 10.06. Mr. Melendez, I'll go to you first.
Okay, now this is for the auditing contracts. And I did speak with staff earlier, and I'm pretty satisfied, but for transparency purposes, I wanted her to elaborate because the Auditor General from the state of Florida comes in and does their, own audits. And so I just wanted to make sure that we weren't paying for the year that the Auditor General was here. And then I found out they're actually doing the auditing this year. So does the contract take place or does it start 2023 and not start in 2022? Or there's a contract in place for 2022, but we're just not outlaying any funds for the auditing services in 2022?
That's correct. So we did this as a result of an RFP process for a 5-year time period, 3-year with a 2-year optional renewal for 2 different scopes of services. One we need all 5 years for, the other the Auditor General does in every 3rd year. So we've drafted the contract and the scope of the RFP to cover the entire time period with the clarity and the understanding that in those years that the Auditor General does their audit, the third-party accounting firm will not be needed for their services and there's no compensation.
And to what level, just so for some people here, to what degree does the Auditor General conduct their audits? Do they look at just certain departments, do they look at the whole entire district? Do they look
It's
at
the district-wide financial, operational, and federal audits, which are required by law.
That's comprehensive.
Thank you. Mr. Arguello?
Yes, Mrs. Graber, so it's 170 for 3 years for one, and 173 for 2 years on 2 for this 3-year period, right? So on the next 2 years following, if it does get extended, have you guys hashed out the price for those 2 years?
That's all in the submittals to the proposal responses.
Okay.
And it's attached to the agenda item.
Okay, thank you.
Motion approved, 1006.
Motion by Mr. Melendez, second by Mr. Arguello. All those in favor?
Aye.
Close like sign, motion passes. 11.01. I don't remember who pulled this one. Was it Mr. Melendez or Arguello? Okay.
Okay, so are we using terms ERP right now? Like how is it used? Because I've heard employees come and tell me that they're not using it, they are using it. It's so everyone uses it.
It's used for payroll, for HR, for work orders, and for human capital management.
So I may be confused on the provider of the other one. So what is the other one? What is the other system that people clock in with or clock out on?
Kronos.
Kronos. Is that the one that people are complaining about then?
I don't know if there's complaining, I'm not
Or
sure.
is everybody using that?
No.
Okay.
No, there are exempt and non-exempt employees.
Yeah.
Non-exempt employees typically use Kronos to time in, clock in and out.
Okay. And then I had a question about terms. So is this the software that is going to be replaced at some point in the future?
At some point, yes.
Yeah.
So we're beginning a process of mapping our current state of how terms exist today. And that's our ERP system, our Enterprise Resource Planning System. So eventually, we will replace that system.
So I went and I tried to do research on this company that has terms, right?
That company does not exist anymore. So EDR, or Crosspoint, is the company who wrote the software. We've had this software for quite a while, so.
So the company is defunct.
Correct.
Right? And now we have this software that we're managing on our own.
And we have managed it on our own since 1999.
Yeah, okay.
So, yes.
Okay, that's all I got. Motion to
We
approve.
perform all the maintenance.
Mr. Melendez?
Yeah, just to let you know, Mr. Arguello, those are some very valid points. And I actually had a conference this afternoon with Mr. Thorne and some consultants, some IT consultants, talking about that, because we mentioned that at our last strategic board meeting. We talked about the fact that we possibly need an ERP system to get updated. And I think it was during our last strategic session for the budget, we even talked about having to save some money for that transition. So terms exist and it works, but obviously it's a legacy program. That's why we're actually having to hire these independent contractors to maintain it, because some of them are retiring and some of the schools aren't even teaching the programming language. The underlying programming language is COBOL. And so it's hard to find people that even know the language to keep it up. So staff is aware of it, and I can just let everybody know, thank you, Dr. Pace, for meeting this afternoon and just having candid conversations. So that's something that we're going to be talking about. And one of the good points that I got out of it, Mr. Thorne, was that it's not just about replacing terms. If we're going to spend the energy and the effort to develop a new ERP system, let's talk about what the district needs. Let's not just do what terms does. Let's talk about how do we improve the business processes? How do we avoid double entry of data? If the HR department needs something or finance needs to do something, that we're not entering that data, 3 or 4 times in different databases. So that's a whole long conversation, but I just want everyone in the public to know that we are meeting with folks, and ERP implementations are extremely tricky, and I've heard a lot of districts have problems with implementing it without a hitch. So we're going to probably look at working together with consultants to be able to guide the district and make sure that it's implemented properly. So, did you motion, Mr. Arguello? Okay, second.
I have a motion by Mr. Arguello, second by Mr. Melendez. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, team. We do have 2 informational items. There's no one here speaking. The information is on the packet. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to regular agenda. And I did not have any modifications for regular agenda. So I'm entertaining a motion to approve 1301.
So moved.
I have discussion.
I second the motion.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Bass, second by Mr. Melendez, with discussion by Mr. Arguello. Mr. Arguello, you're recognized.
Yeah, so I have deep concerns with this contract again. This is essentially, I do appreciate the fact that the amendment was put in that they have to follow the current statute or any further statutes that are coming in, and going. So, but the problem is these relationships certainly may not be I'm not sure, at least from my experience, I don't think that the community is in support of these types of relationships and these types of programs. For one, they're not described very well. 2, it's really not discussed with the community. And so, and I mean with transparency. So if we're going to do something like this program, then I think it's fair that we talk to the community about what this is exactly, what the goal is, what the vision is, and so on. I know that you guys are going to approve it regardless, but people have already spoke out against this, and I just think that it's veiled politics is what it is. It's veiled woke policy. That's what this is. It's not really about providing the best for our students. So you guys can go ahead and entertain your motion to approve it.
Okay. So motion, once again, motion by Bass, second by Mr. Melendez. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-1. Thank you. So we're moving to regular agenda finance.
Motion approved 1403, but with one question on clarification.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Melendez to approve 03, second by Mr. Bass with a question. Mr. Melendez, I'll go ahead and get started with you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It says West Side Relief Project. Is that Knightsbridge?
Yes, sir.
Okay, because it didn't say, I'm so used to refer to as Knightsbridge. I'm like, wait a second, is there a new school that I don't know about? Okay, I'm good with that.
Okay, we have a comment by Mr. Arguello.
No, I'm withdrawing.
Okay, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Post like sign. Motion passes 4-0. I'll entertain a motion for regular items, facilities.
Motion approved 1509.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Melendez, second by Mr. Bass to approve 15.09. We have a comment by Mr. Arguello. Mr. Arguello, you are recognized.
Yeah, I saw a whole bunch of construction vehicles out there in the parking lot, and I imagine that it's from the construction companies. Who's representing the construction companies here? Are they-
So for the Sunbridge K8 award recommendation, we have Gilbane Building Company. And with the award recommendation for the Knightsbridge K8, we have Wharton Smith. And for the GMP award recommendation for Celebration Island, we have Williams Building Company. And finally, for the GMP recommendation for Gateway High School comprehensive renovation, we have Purtle Construction.
Well, I appreciate you guys coming for this. I know it's a big amount of money, so congratulations. I'm sure that you guys will be supportive of all, you already have been, of our construction programs, and I think that you had on the agenda some kind of program, right? Obviously, I've been kind of out of the loop for the past week or so, but I know our CTE Act and so on, I know that they depend on you guys, and you guys have made good use of our students to put them to work, and I just really appreciate that very much. You guys have been good partners, and I appreciate it. It'd be nice to get more people from our school into your guys' jobs. It doesn't necessarily have to be a board member who gets a job with your company. So keep in mind that we have how many students? 70,000. So let's get them to work also. But I appreciate you. Thank you very much for what you guys are doing. That's all. Motion to approve. Or it's already a motion.
Yeah, we already have a motion.
I have another comment, Madam Chair, if I can.
Go ahead.
Well, I do want to, appreciate them for coming out. Just remember that GMP Gateway High School went from 80 million to 111. And I know construction costs are going up, and we understand that. But just if there's any ways that, this goes to all the construction managers out there, please be aware that they're the taxpayer dollars, man. Try to save as much as you can, without cutting corners or cutting quality. And one thing I do want to say too, because the school district lately has been, everyone's kind of questioning everything, but notice what we just did right now. And I want everyone to realize this. We have 4 major construction projects, and they're 4 different companies. One thing that can't be said is that we're in bed with one person, or we're leaning up towards one, because there's a lot of conspiracy theories lately, and that's not one of them. So, Mr. Clinch, I believe that's very honorable. The fact that we're awarding, this is over hundreds of millions of dollars tonight, and it's not going to just one company. There are 4 different construction managers at risk, and just to let everyone know that, Purtle versus Williams and versus everybody that's here, they want it fair and square. They're large companies that have the financial capacity to work. And so, Mr. Clench, again, I commend you, because there's a lot of things going on that people are questioning, whether they're true or not. But one thing that they're not questioning, and I remember I was on the school board before, back in 2008, and there were a lot of issues with constructions and contracts. And that's one area of the district that has been significantly improved. And so, Mr. Clench, I appreciate your leadership and all everyone else.
And I can't take all the credit. Our business and finance procurement department is doing an excellent job with our competitive contractor negotiation projects, making sure that those are safe and fair, short listings and selections, and my facilities team for managing those guaranteed maximum price contracts.
Thank you. Have you.
Thank you. Ready for a vote? Once again, we have a motion by Melendez, second by Mr. Bass. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Thank you, team. Dr. Pace, you have a recommendation?
This is our SRO agreement with the City of Kissimmee, City of St. Cloud, and the Osceola County Sheriff's Office for the upcoming 22-23 school year.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Melendez, second by Mr. Bass. All those okay. I will entertain a comment from Mr. Arguello.
So there's a $20,000 difference, right, for each, or I don't remember exactly. I'm a little foggy, but the price difference, what does that pay for exactly?
That was to help to cover the cost of increases in salaries at our 3 agencies.
So it's a salaries increase?
Yes.
Okay, that's fantastic, thank you.
Okay, I'll call the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Thank you. we do have a lot of public comments. Thank you for being here. Team, would you mind if we take a 5-minute recess before we take comments? Anyone?
No?
No? Okay, sorry. Okay, we will reconvene in 5 minutes, so at 7:12.
I don't know who's feeding this. Of course, the rice was
All. Thank you for being flexible. We're reconvening our meeting. So this is the portion of the meeting where our public can come and make comments. So thank you very much. I have a lot of comments here. I will remind you, since we have some new faces, that you are going to be limited to 3 minutes. Please be respectful of that. If I stop you, it's not because I'm being mean. I just want to make sure that everyone has equal access to time. I will also ask you to please be respectful, not only of the members of the board as well, but also the members of the community. And I will also remind you that you are supposed to give your address as you're coming in to give your comment. So please be respectful of that. Thank you very much. And we'll go ahead and start with Mr. Greg Garris.
Always have to move the mic down. Greg Garris, 3203 Lake Carey Drive, St. Cloud, Florida. Good evening, board members and Dr. Pace. It's good to see you all. I'm just coming tonight to talk to you about where your teachers are at. Taught a full day today, and I have to tell you that this time of year is always a challenge, especially at the middle school level. Last board meeting, I did mention that I thought that the Code of Student Conduct seems to be woefully inadequate to deal with many of the issues that we face in the classroom on a daily basis. Tonight, I was happy to see that there seems to be a review process that is going on for the Code of Student Conduct. The members' names who I saw, I didn't see what they do at the district. Are they district employees? Are these people that deal with the Code of Student Conduct on a daily basis? Because it's a classroom teacher or a dean that deals with the Code of Student Conduct constantly, and they are the ones that are going to be able to tell you where there are holes, where we have not yet addressed the advances in technology. We've given these laptops to these students, and the Code of Student Conduct doesn't really address when students use them inappropriately. Now we're talking about giving them their laptops for the entire summer. I just caution the fact that we're putting that technology in their hands. What level of auditing do we have about how these students are going to be using our property, the property of the school district? So it's concerning. And it's concerning because the tool that we've been given, that I mentioned last month, NetRef, the students now have a workaround. It's not adequate. It blanks out. I'll be in the middle of teaching and checking to see where my screens are. I have to walk, and I have to sit now in the back of my room so that I can see screens. So, because NetRef doesn't do the job. I don't know how much we paid for it, but I hope it wasn't much because it's not working and we're not getting answers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garris. Next person is Mr. Luis Rivera.
Luis Rivera, 3078 Point Place Avenue, Kissimmee, Florida. I would like to paraphrase a speech that I heard, and I will refrain from naming the person who said it because I don't want to offend anyone. We should not honor race or ethnicity. I cannot care less if you are black, brown, red, yellow, or white. I cannot care less if you are African, European, Latin American, or Asian. I cannot care less if your parents came here on the Mayflower or slave ship. We should recognize your individual identity, your character, your scholarship, your humanity. The only identity we need to identify is American. We built American schools for the purpose of making better Americans. If you wish to affirm here an ethnic or racial identity or national identity other than American, you should attend another school. The school should not honor race or ethnicity in after-school clubs that divide us by race, ethnicity, sexual orientation. The clubs should be based on interests, passions like art, sports, anatomy, languages you do not speak already. If the clubs you think about are that of an ethnicity, race, and sexual orientation, that means little outside yourself really interests you. The purpose of education is to think beyond yourself. We should all adhere to a dress code. Stop with these ripped jeans. Address teachers by their title. Address students by their name. Teachers are not your pals. They're there to teach. Should there be a valedictorian? 1, not 6. Focus on academics, not propaganda. Stop with the racism, sexism, homophobia, tobacco, global warming, and gender. So that's pretty much there. I also want to now talk about the climate survey. It should be called a student survey. The majority of the questions are asking students how they feel and not the parents. There's maybe like 4 or 5 questions for parents. Let me give you an example. They're asking students if the teachers reach out to you. My teacher doesn't reach out to me. They don't need to. He's doing a great job. The only time teachers usually reach out to students or parents is when they're messing up in school. That's one of the questions in the survey. I wish that in this survey you guys gave out for a climate survey here, that you guys talked about the vaccinations for next year. How do parents feel about that? About the transportation issues. I really don't have a transportation issue. 4 or 5 times I bring it up. Dr. Pace, thank you for responding to all my emails rapidly. You guys don't talk about COVID-19 vaccination, the new parent rights bill. None of that stuff is in that survey, which is very important, and I wish that you guys, your next survey, come out soon and talk about these important issues. Thank you. That's a good night.
Thank you. Next, we have Rini Mackard.
My name is Rini Makar, Kissimmee, Florida 34741. I am also going to read a text from a book. So there she lusted after her lovers, whose genitals were like those of donkeys and whose emission was like that of the horses. So as I read that text from a book, guess where that text came from? The Word of God, the Holy Scriptures. Let me break it down further for you, the Bible. So let me point out to all of you conservative parents here today that it's not about the explicit language that's within the books. It is merely what the community that the book is inferring to. The LGBT community is your real issue with the content of what the books portray in our library school books. Because the Bible may not be in our schools, but it is within each and every one of our homes, around our children. The places you send your children to church, Bible study, the council in which you receive the Word of God, and the explicit language is found in this book. So now, what are we next going to ban the Bible because it has explicit language? And my last point, bringing to all of full circle, the Bible tells us as one of Jesus' great commandments is to love your neighbor as thyself. So if your neighbor is the LGBTQ community and you are spewing hate toward that neighbor, you are not within the standing of Jesus and his great commandments. If your child is sitting next to an LGBTQ student and they refer to him or her or they being the neighbor of a classmate and they are willing to treat them any differently within a classroom, then they are not also within Jesus' great commandment. Because no matter how many books you take out of the school, the LGBT community is still going to be there. In your neighborhoods, in your stores, in your children's classrooms, in your churches, in your doctor's offices, at your school board meetings. They're still going to be a part of the community that you're trying to rip the books out of. Let us also remember that all school library books are not geared toward instruction. They are all geared for self-selection of the reader. And every parent has also the option of opting their children out of selecting any of the inappropriate books within their school districts. Just remember, you can ask to ban any and all books that you want to, but you will never ban a whole entire community, because we are all going to still be here. Thank you.
The next speaker is Tanya Rodriguez.
Good evening.
Tania Rodriguez, 3675 Boggy Creek Road, Kissimmee. My late father, who grew up during the Depression, taught me and my siblings a lesson that we have not forgotten and live by to this day. Your rights end the moment mine begin. It has become apparent that in our community, we no longer live by this rule. A small group of boisterous people do not speak for most of my students. As an educator and parent of 2 Osceola County graduates, it grieves me to no end to see our district buckling to political pressure, bypassing our challenge procedures, and forgetting that all our students have rights. I'm going to share the Library Bill of Rights, which was adopted in 1939 as a response to book burning and censorship prior to World War II. The American Library Association affirms that all libraries are forums for information and ideas, and that the following basic policies should guide their services. Books and other library resources should be provided for the interest, information, and enlightenment of all people of the community the library serves. Materials should not be excluded because of the origin, background, or views to those contributing to their creation. Libraries should provide materials and information presenting all points of view on current and historical issues. Materials should not be proscribed or removed because of partisan or doctrinal disapproval. Libraries should challenge censorship in the fulfillment of their responsibility to provide information and enlightenment. Libraries should cooperate with all persons and groups concerned with resisting abridgment of free expression and free access to ideas. A person's right to use a library should not be denied or abridged because of origin, age, background, or views. Libraries which make exhibit spaces and meeting rooms available to the public they serve should make such facilities available on an equitable basis regardless of the beliefs or affiliations of individuals or groups requesting their use. All people, regardless of origin, age, background, or views, possess a right to privacy and confidentiality in their library use. Libraries should advocate for, educate about, and protect people's privacy, safeguarding all library use data, including personally identifiable information. My students reminded me today that our high school library is the place where ideas are explored and encourage free thinking. Isn't this what we want for all our kids? As Governor DeSantis just said this weekend, we want kids to learn to think so they can get the right answer. As educators, we must advocate for the needs of all our students, regardless of race, color, or sexual orientation. My job is to create a diverse collection that will speak to all our kids, not just a selected few. We would love for all our parents to be involved in what their kids are reading. I know these conversations are hard, but we owe it to our kids. I realize some might find it uncomfortable or tedious, but to ignore procedure is to ignore those that cannot speak for themselves. We need to ensure that everyone's rights are respected and protected, not just a select few. Most of the top 10 books challenged in 2021 represent people of color, LGBTQ+, and
Ms.
other
Rodriguez,
marginalized member of society.
Your time is up. Thank you. Aaron Lee. And team, if I can remind you, please give your address as you're coming up. I apologize, I have not been reminding everyone.
That's fine. I'm Erin Lee. My address is 5350 San Miguel Road. Good evening. I am here tonight representing several employees, parents, and students here in this room and those unable to attend or speak. As an educator in this district, I am concerned with the direction of the district's decisions to completely bypass our book challenge policies, lean into political pressure from one side, and disregard the fact that we have policies and procedures in place for a reason. Tonight, I would like to cite a Supreme Court case from 1982, Island School District versus Pico. In this case, the school district had removed books from school libraries because parents had complained that the content was filthy without taking into consideration the content as a whole, which had educational value. The students in the district took the district to the Supreme Court and won. The Supreme Court ruled in favor of the students because the right to read is implied in the First Amendment. The government, in this case the public school district, cannot restrict speech because it disagrees with that speech. Libraries are places for voluntary inquiry, to allow our students to find themselves in fiction and to explore the world in a safe way. One of my students had recently read Looking for Alaska before this school board's and the district's decision a couple of weeks ago, and she asked me if she could write a letter to my district bosses about why banning books is bad. And she also said, I know I'm just a kid, so my voice doesn't matter. But her voice matters to me and it should matter to you. She wrote in her letter, "Looking for Alaska is about grief and loss and the beautiful journey of grieving. It teaches us that when we lose somebody, we are not alone in that." She gave me the bravery tonight to speak up for students like her who turn to reading when they're looking for an escape and who find safety and solace in their school library. I believe in my students' First Amendment rights, and I believe in the policies that our school district already has in place in regards to book challenges, which requires that we look at books as a whole and not just at the parts that may be disagreeable to some. And it requires a democratic process for either deciding to keep those materials or remove them. I would love for all parents to be a part of the decisions that we make in regards to what we purchase and have in our school media centers. I invite parents with concerns to email me, to call me, to have a conversation with me. At the end of the day, I am here for my students. I do my job to make sure they are all represented and heard, and we need to do better by them and respect the policies that this district has put in place. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Joanne Colonna.
Joanne Colonna, 4701 Ashton Drive West, St. Cloud, Florida. Did you ever have your parent take your shoulder and just shake them and say, "What the hell is going on?" Well, let me tell you, I stand here week after week, month after month, and now year after year, listening to you all address these issues that are of no concern to our children's education. Your vision for the individual rights of students has been blown out of proportion. We attend these meetings to strengthen and to support one board member who I believe was sent from a higher up. No individual should have to take the abuse that he does. He is the voice of our children and speaking for our children. John, we thank you for that. Over the last 2 years, the radical left has weaponized social media campaigns and critical race theory in schools and in workplaces. But one thing you cannot do is to prevent the citizens from the parents asserting our right and our constitutional right of freedom of speech. You racially divided an agenda brainwashing through the books that you allow in those libraries that to be brought to the schools. They are a disgrace. The way it stands today, the radical left is pushing programs the activists attack the livelihood and representation of any person who does not agree with them. But now we have your number. We have learned to investigate and to fight back. Knowledge in education, reading, writing, math, and actual factual history is your job. The job of parents is the morality, preparing the evil that is out there in the world for their children. You woke way of thinking divides people, race, and religion. I know there must be a chemical in the water affecting the mindset of half the Americans, the president included. I can't even believe the evil happening, and you don't even acknowledge it. I'm glad I was born many, many years ago when girls were able to be tomboys without having sex changes. I identified as a tomboy, and I don't see anything masculine about me today. My next very important item to bring before you, I'm going to tell you a story about a fine young lady, went to a private school from pre-K until high school. Her parents didn't want to send her to this failed public school, but the only high school that was teaching and having this dual enrollment nursing program was Toho High. This little girl is my granddaughter, and do you know what happened there? Sent by you people, the Board of Education, due to the fact that the challenges of the dual enrollment program and the lack of consent in nursing instructors, you people failed her. You failed her because you ended her class because you were not able to get the teachers. After 3 years
Ms. Colonna,
of
your
learning.
time is up. Thank you so much. Ms.
I will
Colonna,
not
I
stop
would
because you
appreciate
took 3 years of
Ms.
my
Colonna.
granddaughter, and I will finish what I have to
Ms.
say.
Colonna, Ms.
How can you
Colonna, can we please
honestly
stop? I will recess the meeting. It
be a
is
guardian
recessing
of
the
a
meeting.
child and not know what you're talking about? The education program is failing your students. And
remind you that the 3-minute policy is for everyone, because I would like to hear what everybody has to say. I feel like we have been very respectful, and you're not just disrespecting me, you're disrespecting everybody else in here. I would ask you kindly, those of you who are coming up next, when I say please kindly stop at 3 minutes, I am not trying to take away your free speech. I am simply making sure that everyone has a chance to speak. Thank you. Karen Baker.
Karen Baker, 2484 Yellow Brick Road, St. Cloud, Florida. The Osceola County School District has failed their students, especially some seniors. Osceola County has literally lost a generation of young people. Locking down schools was the biggest mistake ever made over a virus that did not affect children and had a 99.9% recovery rate. The students were made to attend school online, which I can tell you does not work for many students. They no longer had a routine and lost interest in school. They needed the personal contact and interaction with other students and their teachers. It is very sad when parents are contacted 1 month before graduation and told that their student is in serious danger of not graduating because they are failing math or English and have not been attending school or cutting classes. Why is the school waiting to address this problem 1 month before graduation? Why wasn't the issue of skipping class or school not addressed as soon as their attendance and grades became an issue? And why were poor grades and absenteeism allowed to continue without any consequences or discipline? I am not excusing the students for their lack of responsibility, but these issues should have been stopped as soon as this behavior started. We have already heard that teachers are also frustrated and want to know how they can teach a class when about half of the students are not present. A big problem was sending students home several times to quarantine because they supposedly had come in close proximity, whatever that was, to someone who supposedly tested positive. So they were missing school for up to 14 days and could not even attend school online. Meanwhile, they were sitting home doing nothing and never got sick. These students have no job skills because the education focus has been in the wrong place. When I was in high school, which I know was in the dark ages, our education included students in business classes, college prep classes, shop, automotive, home economics, and when we graduated, we were able to enter the work field. We would no more think of skipping school than the man on the moon. We would have been in a lot of trouble and brought to task. Parents generally assume that when their child leaves for school that is where they are going, and don't know until later that their child skipped school or a class. I know from experiences when my oldest daughter was in school, she was skipping school, even though we were taking her to school and watching her walk in the building. We had no idea that she was walking out of the school once we left. She actually failed English and did not get to graduate with her class and had to go to summer school so she could get her diploma. You can imagine how upset I was. We are losing a generation of students, and the schools need to be more responsible to the students, and when there is a problem, address it right away instead of waiting until graduation is upon them and they are in danger of not graduating. How very sad. It is time for Osceola County and schools everywhere to wake up and offer classes to the students on how to keep a checkbook, how much rent costs, food costs, and other living expenses, so that maybe they will understand how important getting an education is. They are still kids as their brains are still developing, and they need to understand that they are
Thank you,
going to
Ms.
go
Baker.
nowhere without at least a high school diploma.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Baker. The next person is, Miss Addison, last name Addison. Hi, are you students?
No, I'm the parent. This is my daughter, Shanasia Addison.
Shania, thank you so much.
My
Okay.
name is Shantia Howard. I do not want to disclose my address or location for safety reasons. My daughter, we relocated to the state of Florida August of 2019. I enrolled my daughter into Osceola School District September 11th, 2019. She has endured racist-based bullying ever since she entered into Osceola School District at Kissimmee Middle. I have made complaint after complaint to Frank Franceschi about how my daughter was being treated. It was swept up under the rug, a cowardly act. It was never addressed. It escalated to the same students that my daughter met in the school district, to them coming to my house to physically assault my child, to where I'm outside of my house physically fighting these students, okay, to keep them away from my daughter. We had a hearing on April 21st of 2021 where a young man put something in my daughter's water bottle.
Excuse
now-
me, Madam Chair, no, this is
Yes,
very
yes.
important.
Oh, I'm asking her to stop.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah, I just spoke with the attorney. This potential case could be a recommendation for expulsion, and the school board sits as hearing officers. So technically speaking, we cannot hear the evidence above, before
You just won't use the
an
hearing
actual
officer that's
hearing.
one of us. It's only you and me. You and me won't do it. She's allowed to speak.
No, I'm
She's
just
allowed to
saying,
speak.
no, I'm just saying, just from a
You
technical
can't tell
perspective.
her that she can't do it.
They-
Technically, it's just that she's gonna have a hearing officer. It's not you or I.
Okay.
My
Does
daughter
she-
is in
okay, does she
tears
have-
because
does she
she's
have-
not
is there another
accepting
hearing
that she's
officer?
African American.
Wait, point of order, there's a legal issue here.
We will assign.
So is there here, is?
Let me, can I talk? Not to you. We will assign a different hearing officer, but at the end of the day, this board is the final authority.
Correct, and so is there an issue then, but hearing the evidence prior then?
No, you just, I'm not
This
gonna.
is, we would get
permit
this
you to
side of the
talk,
story anyway, in the notes.
You'll get it from the record. Go ahead, ma'am,
We'll get
in
it
my
from the
opinion, Madam Chair.
Okay. I
My
just want to
daughter
make sure
has-
we're doing it properly.
My daughter has been, okay, I'm sorry.
1 second, I just want to make sure we start the timer at 2:01. That's where you left off.
Okay, thank you. My daughter has been called everything but a child of God. It is power of life and death in the tongue, okay? My daughter has endured name
And we have a,
calling.
excuse me, I'm sorry. We have a problem.
Yes.
We apparently don't have any hearing officers other than the two board members who want to be the hearing officers.
Is there an alternate process? Can
She
we
is
assign
currently
someone?
scheduled for May 4th for a hearing.
So
Okay.
do you want me to step out then, since I'm
You
the
would
one that's
both
on
have
there?
to step out.
Please,
You
so I
would
can
both have
kind of
to
make it
step out.
aware, please, if you don't mind, and I can.
No,
speak.
there's a legal question, ma'am, and I'm sorry, it's not that I don't want to hear you, but there's legal ramifications.
I understand.
Yes, I think if you both, you're the hearing officer?
Yes, I'm the hearing officer,
Then I
sorry.
would step out and we avoid any
I
problem.
apologize,
step
ma'am.
No, that's okay, I
There's
understand.
issues where I can't hear
I
it ahead of
completely
time.
understand, that's fine.
Okay.
Can't entertain you.
1 second.
I know.
Can I please have the timer start at 1:50?
I can't do like,
No?
I'll keep
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Just keep talking, man. We'll,
I'll do 2 minutes.
yeah.
Thank you.
So my daughter has been called the N-word. She has been called monkey. She has been called blackboard, chalkboard. She has been water poured on top of her head in the middle of the class. Students pouring things into her drink. A specific group of kids that I made aware of which kids was doing this. It has never been addressed. The school district has not shown me anything that they have done to address the bullying. Mr. Phelps had promised me that he would keep my daughter safe mentally and emotionally and physically. I took several steps, injunctions, police reports, complaining to the school, okay? I have video footage, the video footage of my daughter reacting from the young lady calling her an N-word that has been threatening her with guns and everything, and I have everything right here, okay? I have video footage as well. You would hear the young lady in the footage, not in the school footage, but you would hear her in the footage calling my daughter the N-word, and that's when my daughter reacted physically. Now she's up for expulsion. She's being reprimanded. Y'all didn't hear my daughter when she was sad and crying out for help, but y'all pay attention to my child when she need to be reprimanded for making a wrong decision at 14. But look how long she has endured racist-based bullying, where it has been ignored by leadership. I even have a teacher, Casey Harris, that called my daughter trash, said she need hair extensions. Called her Felicia from off Friday, the movie that's a crackhead in the movie of Friday. If y'all don't know about the movie, look it up. It has never been addressed. Why, Ms. Pace, after 2 years, I'm questioning for the student, my daughter's records. You said yourself earlier that incident reports have statements from students. Why it has been in 2 years that I've been requesting these statements to prove how my daughter been bullied, and 2 years y'all haven't found it. And I just get an email today that it's found. I'm not happy because I'm not sure what's all in there. So I'm not going to get excited until I see the paperwork. I'm upset. Even the bullying has continued after the physical altercation. My daughter is being threatened that she going to get shot. My house going to get shot up. These kids done already been to my house. What are y'all going to do about it?
Dr.
How are y'all
Pace.
going to address the bullying and the threats?
Are you already in contact with the parent with regards to this? Okay, so if you can keep us abreast. So,
This young man is the only one with the hearing that put a plan in place to help my daughter out. He the only one that acknowledged the bullying with my child. The flash drives and the footages that I brought April 21st of 2021. He's the only one. My attorney reached out to Mr. Phelps and asked what has been done. I have the emails to the response that Mr. Phelps said, oh, I'm going to reach out to the school's attorney. He couldn't even explain what did the school district or the schools, what steps did y'all take to address it, to nip it in the bud. If it would have been addressed, I have emails dating back from 2019. If it had been addressed when I was complaining about it, this would have never escalated this far. This is why we have children that commit suicide. This is why we have school shootings. This is why we have students bringing weapons to the school. This could be your child, anybody's kid in here. How we gonna make the environment safe for our kids? She have a right to education, just like anybody else's kid. She have a right to be treated like a human being. That is too. Like, we all human. Her hair don't have to be long. She don't have to be Caucasian. She don't have to be Latino. She African American. She gonna love the skin that she is in, cause that's how God made her. Would you like to say something to these young ladies and young men about what you done endured? It's okay if you crying.
It's
It
okay.
clears the soul. That's okay.
It's okay if you want to say something, and it's
Don't be
okay if
nervous.
you don't.
You don't
Either
have to
way.
be nervous. Speak up. This is your time to speak up about how you feel about it and what you done endured.
I don't know why it took so long for me to get noticed. Until I reacted finally after 3 years.
My daughter asked me why when she was sad y'all couldn't address it. But when she get angry about it and do something, why are y'all addressing it?
And that's
I think
a fair
that's a question
question.
that y'all should answer.
Yeah, it's a fair question. And thank you for coming here and being brave to talk to us. I know that this is really hard. I know that we have people that are already working on it. We probably can't talk too much about it now because this is not the forum, but I want to make sure that you're safe, and I'm really happy that you're here, and I'm sorry that you've gone through that. And it's okay to be sad it's okay, and we want to make sure that you have a safe place to go to in school. So we're going to address it. Mom, thank you for bringing it up to our attention. And
Absolutely.
yes, and thank you for being respectful. Yes.
I just want to echo her, honey. Don't ever be afraid to come in here and talk to us. This is the first that I personally have heard about this, but thank you for being brave, for coming in saying, in sharing your story with us, and I'm sorry that you had to go through that, really am.
You guys are missing the point here. 3 years. She's saying 3 years. She's been reporting this. If anything, you should be apologizing to her instead of telling her, good job for being brave. Instead, you should be saying, listen to me. I am so sorry to you. I'm sorry. I am so deeply sorry to you for what this district has allowed, for not stepping up, for you reaching out to our superintendent and still not getting an answer. I will get on my knees and apologize to you because you deserved better this entire time.
And for the record,
And no one should ever be treated like that in any school, in any world. Okay? It is wrong. What happened to you is absolutely wrong. And hopefully, we will get to the bottom of it. Hopefully, we will do our best and provide you with what you deserve. Not with what saves everyone's reputation, not with what saves anybody's job, but what you deserve as a person. Okay? God bless you. Please keep in touch with me and you let me know what's going on with the situation, okay?
That's what I'll say to Ms. Pace. That's why her records haven't been found for 2 whole years. Because Mr. Frank Franceschi and Miss Rolando want to keep their coattail clean of their career reputation. This is what it's doing to our children. It's harming them. It's not a healthy environment. Things should be addressed regardless, And I'm speaking for my daughter, but I'm also speaking for other kids that's being bullied and race-based bullying. No bullying is right at all. So now my daughter, she's going through this. It's not gonna take back the words that she had to hear or the things that she had to go through. But what I can say far as up north, far as the school system here, it's too overpopulated. Like, y'all building freeways and streets down here. It need to be more schools to ease up the lot of kids and the pressure on the teachers and things falling through the cracks. I never seen nothing like this ever before. It's just disgusting to me, you know, that it has went on this long, and I have done so much to address it. I did the HOPE application. She was denied for that because the school refused to send over the statements that's been missing for 2 years. I did the choice program to get her out of that school and move her away from that area and those kids. And Mr. Phelps said that those kids couldn't go to school with my daughter. That's how they was planning to keep my daughter safe. Well, one of the young ladies from that group of kids
Madam
ended up
Chair.
at school.
Yes.
Beyond the time limit one, but I have to say this as the
Yes.
lawyer. We've heard one story today. We do not discuss publicly any student's role and other facts. We're not allowed to do that. The law prevents that. And I want that in the record because
it.
I don't disbelieve or believe until things are investigated. So at this point, we've heard this. This case is going to be heard, aspects of it, and I'll look into what she says about these people not doing something.
Thank you, Ms. Addison, thank you so much for your comments. If you do have any additional things to say, I'll be happy to stay after the meeting.
Thank you.
The next person is Shanita Howard. Oh, okay, thank you, Ms. Howard. The next person is Travion Telfair. No, it makes sense, don't worry.
Good evening.
Hi.
I am truly disgusted of this board. Things that I have been reached out to on advocating for students at a specific high school, Liberty High School. I've been advocating for students who have been sexually assaulted. Things have been said to the administration. Nothing has been done. Yet, they have not done anything for these students. We expect these students to go home and feel safe. We don't know what type of environment that these students go home to. None. We expect them to come to a learning environment and feel safe if they can't feel it at home. But yet, when we do reach out to these administrations, they're told that they're lying and nothing's done about it, or the parent is called and nothing is done about it. Or they said they haven't reached out to the main source, which is the principal. I'm not gonna say any names, but I am here to advocate for students that will be coming up here to speak. I am by far disgusted of graduating from this high school. Nothing is being done. I even started a petition to remove the principal of this school. It has 300 signatures. It's not to the school board, it's to the governor. And nothing is being done for these students. These students do not feel safe on this campus. I have reached out to Mr. Arguello. He's the only one who really, and I've contacted Dr. Pace. I didn't make it to the meeting. I had a lot going on, but I've reached out to Dr. Pace and I will reschedule my meeting with you, Dr. Pace. But this somewhere we got to draw the line.
Have you reported it to law enforcement?
Yes.
Which officer?
Ria. It was a detective.
Okay.
By the name of Rios.
Thank you very much.
And not only that, there is a teacher who's here today to speak. The students already went to report the issue to the principal. But the principal, the administration, refused to listen to the girls' situations. And they didn't care. So now the students went to the teacher because they were comfortable and they knew that the administration wasn't going to do anything about the situation. That is honestly sad. Somewhere along the line, I know you guys don't care, but somewhere along the line, we need to take accountability. And that is the main important thing. Students come to school to try to get the most, they want to be students, not juveniles. They don't want to feel like they're left out. They don't want to feel discomfort. These students need love. And for once, can we at least take the name principal and put the motherhood or fatherhood if you're a female principal or a male principal?
Thank you, Mr. Ted Fair. I appreciate your comments. The next person is Genesis West Andreas. Are you a student? Okay, do not say your address, please. Thank you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Cool. Okay, I'm a student, right? For months, I was sexually assaulted way back in September by a student that I was friends with at the time. For months, I wrote multiple statements, wrote upwards of 12 statements, half of which were lost. Every other statement has been dismissed. Every other statement that I've submitted to my principals, nothing has happened. Until I got my mother involved, we spent months trying to get a meeting with my principal. We finally got a meeting. She sat there. She dismissed everything that I said. The millisecond that I brought up being sexually assaulted, she told me she did not believe me. And she dismissed everything I said. And I quote, not even and I quote, sorry, I kid you not. I had a C, a D in English? That's why she dismissed everything that I said. Told me I was lying. I couldn't be assaulted because I had a D in English. Because that's how that works. That's cool? That's okay?
Did you go to law enforcement?
I tried. They asked me if I wanted to press charges. I said I needed to think about it. I came back the next day, and they told me that I was no longer a credible source because I waited too long.
Did you ever talk to the SRO or any law
I
enforcement?
did. At my school? Yeah.
What, do you know his name?
He doesn't work there anymore.
Was this last year?
No, it was this year. He just doesn't work there.
Thank you.
I mean, I don't know what else you want me to say. I mean,
Is this situation being looked at, Dr.
no,
Pace?
she doesn't look at it anymore. I asked her, even still, 2-3 weeks ago, I've been up there to try to get a meeting with her. I wrote multiple statements up until this point because I'm still being harassed by the same dude that assaulted me. And every single time I try to get a meeting with her, I'm ignored. I've made meetings with her. I've set times, and I've been told, okay, you can have this meeting. She's not there.
Tanya, do we have her name and phone number?
Yep.
I'll be reaching out to you, ma'am.
Do you need, you got this? Okay.
Yeah, you have board records.
Thank you, Ms. Wes Andreas. The next person is Emma, I'm so sorry, Emma W. I apologize in advance. Are you a student?
Yes.
Okay, please do not state your address.
Got it. Is it working? Hi, I'm a junior at Liberty High School, and about a month and a half ago, I was sexually assaulted off campus. I didn't know what to do or who to tell. And not only that, it's a traumatic experience that you shouldn't have to go through. I eventually decided to go to the school about it, which is a scary thing to do for me, but I did it.
Could I interrupt you 1 second, ma'am? I apologize, but it just dawned on me. Could we make sure the video is off? Because it's identifying our students to the public, and I don't care to see them victimized from that. So while the students are talking, Dana, could you do that? Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Particular situation, I know this is already, let me look at, thank you. Next, we have Natalie Hernandez.
Hello.
Same situation.
Do not,
Let's not identify them. I know it's difficult.
I have no way
Right.
of knowing.
Well, we're not filming. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Deanna Hobson, 4565 Shady Creek Cove, Winter Springs. Okay, so I wasn't sure if I would come today, but after being threatened, isolated for 8 hours, and interrogated by my principal and campus police, why not? And apparently I'll be doing this again tomorrow. So, she stated I did not report enough information. I did call DCF in front of her and complied. She asked for the student names for today. I did comply and gave her the information. I'm here for my students who have trusted me with information that they have reported sexual assault, harassment, and abuse multiple times, and nothing has been done. To state, they have been reported before coming to me. I would have reported them right away if they've never been reported, but as they've stated, they've been reported multiple times. Now I'm being told that they were not reported, and I failed to do my mandatory report. These students trusted me. The people in charge when making these statements and making these statements and what happens, they are given no contracts, which basically is a hush contract. If you talk about it or to the person, you will get suspended or expelled. These students are forced into this contract, even if they do not sign it. And there's multiple students that have said they've been forced into them. But what happens to the violator? The person that's done the harm, they only have a contract. So just like those women that came up just a few moments ago, they're seeing the person that has physically assaulted them. How would you feel if somebody physically violated you and you see them every day and there's nothing you can do besides sit there and try to get through your day, and you have to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. And I feel so sorry for these women and whoever else has been harassed or sexually assaulted, and I am here for you. Some of my students have told me after the 5th time of reporting, they stopped because nothing has changed. One student has reported it 7 times on one individual. That person has pushed her down the stairs, pushed her into the bleachers.
Ma'am, I'm looking out for you when I tell you this. Given the state law on your reporting responsibilities, I wouldn't be going into.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm just looking out for your certificate, okay?
I
I
apologize.
recognize the good faith, what you're trying to do, but I just would not.
I understand.
Okay,
I
thank you.
apologize.
Ms.
No,
Thompson,
I'm
one
just-
second, please. Can you add 17 more seconds to the timer? Thank you.
I hope this creates change I desire to see. And for those out there feeling alone and afraid, I am here for you. And I hope this shows I will do anything in my power for what is right for these students. I will create change.
Thank you. Next, we have Angela McKinney.
Angelica McKinney, 7060 Branch Court, St. Cloud, Florida. And this is actually in reference of the books. Earlier, Dr. Pace made the presentation on the what parents can select for their students' level of access to School Media Center. And so I'm just going to repeat the 3 options. I'm going to do it backwards. No access. The student is not permitted to check books out of the media center. Second is limited, may check out books in the media center, but nothing involving mature content. And the last one is unlimited, which is full access. Mature content may be involved. We have a new Supreme Court Justice who is a woman who can define woman. We have a superintendent who can define morals. So who defines mature content? Is Mr. K going to define mature content? Is the district going to define mature content by providing parents an example of one of the excerpts that were read or one of the pictures that were presented so they know what the school district means by mature content? I am asking the school board to reject this process or any process that allows using such process as the vehicle to keep these books or similar books and who knows what else in our schools. The reason those books are in our schools is because a handful of people have taken it upon themselves to push for those books to be available for our students. The schools are not the place for that. Open up a store and have all those books and everything else you want to or feel that the students need to be exposed to in the name of inclusion or equity, and see how many parents will be visiting with their kids. You can either do the right thing by removing the books and not allowing that type of content available in our school or similar, or you can add yourself to the list of perverts. Thank you.
Next, we have Seth Ranter.
Good evening, everybody. This is my assistant, Sky. I am Seth Canner, 3779 Cedar Hammock Trail, St. Cloud. Mark Gotts, the founder and business manager of American Classical Charter Academy, has asked me to present these comments regarding the board's vote to terminate the American Classical Charter Academy charter school contract. American Classical Charter Academy was founded to bring the optional choice of a classical education to the parents and students of Osceola County. We focus on reading, writing, and arithmetic. Our classrooms are secure, with the safety and well-being of our students being paramount to our mission. We focus on creating virtuous, well-rounded scholars. Our parents participate in the success of our school, and as you plainly saw in the last meeting, they are very well-spoken and passionate about their school. The preliminary NWEA scores for our fourth grade students was 82% proficiency in math and 88% proficiency in reading. These preliminary scores indicate that we are far exceeding the school district's average. Our primary issue is financial, and I will be presenting to the board a financial corrective action at your first meeting in May. This action will outline a plan to resolve our financial issues and, with the district's approval, allow us to continue servicing this county with a top-shelf educational format. With only 100 additional student enrollments, we will meet our fiscal goals. It should be noted that the vote taken on this issue by your board has been reported as a 90-day termination. This information is not correct, as the school board has requested an administrative hearing on the issue. It is a scheduled date of June 29th, 2022. The 90-day termination, as it is so advertised, cannot begin unless district prevails at the administration hearing. This should be noted in your records, and I ask that you make a statement verifying this so that it is in your minutes. The press is unlikely to follow the story with this particular information, but we feel it is of utmost importance to our parents and our students. Student enrollment is the primary avenue for the school to meet its expenses. This action and its reporting are directly detrimental to ongoing student enrollment. I look forward to presenting in May. Be well, Mark Gotts. And on a personal note, I have a few seconds. Taking hundreds of charter school students and putting them in an overburdened, overpopulated school system does not benefit their education and harms the public school. Putting hundreds of charter school students in a bus system you don't even have enough drivers for certainly isn't for their educational well-being. After hearing some of the stories of local schools and other things in the newspapers and news about physical altercations in schools, putting these hundreds of successful students in these schools with these issues is downright frightening. Your mission statement is to watch out for their education. Working with these charter schools, helping them with stability, benefits the schools, the public as a whole, and the students themselves.
Mr. Ranter, I appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman, just for those watching, sir, you're represented by counsel, but it's more than the financial debacle. Guy who asked you to write the letter, there are three other major issues: the lack of certified teachers, instructional issues, and safety security issues. It was only after the state came in that security issues were addressed. So please don't come in and just paint this picture, it's just financial. It is more than financial. I'll rest there and have your counsel present the plan.
That would be the owner, Mark Gotts. However, I realize we're not going to debate this.
Thank you.
It will be addressed in court, and reading it in its entirety.
I have offered him the opportunity to get with us ahead of time to try and work out these issues. I have not heard from them about a date they'd like to get together.
Well, that's what the administration hearing is for, and
no, that's not what the hearing is for.
During the first 2 years
We can.
of the previous administration having issues.
Thank you,
Now
Mr.
that the school's
Ranter.
successful, suddenly it's a problem.
Mr.
Frank, do you
Koppenbacher, if
think
you have
there's
any
safety, security
additional
issues that are
comments, you
worse
can
than
do it in your attorney's comments. Thank you.
Yes.
The next person is Chris
doesn't sound like
Fontenot. I know she's here. Yes.
Hi, my name is Chris Fontenot, and I'm at 1060 Gary Drive in St. Cloud. I am here tonight to talk about a couple of things. The first thing is about the attempt or desire to close the American Classical Charter Academy, partially because of their default on rent, I understand. But it sounds like they're excelling, the students are excelling academically. So I guess my question is, why would the district approve a 10-year contract with the Bezos Academy for $1 a month for rent, but not save a district, or save a charter school that's actually doing good in our community? So that's just something that I highly spoke out against with that contract. So that's just another incident. Also, there's been a consistent message of bullying of parents, of students in these schools ever since I've been coming here in August of last year. Students aren't being heard. They're being ignored. They're being told they're liars. They're not being taken seriously. Teachers' jobs are being threatened, or they're being intimidated or harassed just because they are trying to be an ear for these students and to help to guide them in the proper direction to go and how to have their complaints handled. The job of a teacher should be to support any student, not just ones who are maybe looking to transition, who are having a complaint about something. I'll just leave it at that. Teacher morale is getting lowered as a result of this, and your inaction to handle these issues. I've seen videos where teachers are standing there watching these fights because their hands are tied and there's nothing that they can do. So you're having these issues recruiting and retaining teachers in the district. Well, maybe one of the reasons, aside from the pay and the low morale, is because you're not doing anything about these disciplinary actions in these schools, and teachers are being forced to sit there and watch something that they have no right to get in and stop. So you're not only failing students, you're failing teachers, and it's ridiculous. That's all I'm going to say for now. Thank you.
Next, we have Pastor Adanais Morales.
Adianis Morales, 4555 West Irlo Bronson Memorial Highway. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate the opportunity to address you this evening. However, I am deeply concerned that I may be wasting my time. I have watched for a whole year as we come every 2 weeks here, and we have been exposing everything that has been spoken tonight. People expressing their concerns, only to be scoffed at, excuses made. I was appalled 2 weeks ago when we brought a specific title a month ago, and I'm sorry, Mrs. Deborah Pace, and you told all of us that in a month you have not had time to go through the book. One thing has been made abundantly clear is that the board and the superintendent, with the exception of Mr. Arguello, which is the one that is always bringing things to light, are out of sync with the community. And I would like to say that it's okay, but it's not okay. There is an election coming up. But in case that you feel that it might behoove you actually to address the concerns of the community, even it is just to save your own jobs. And I will list these things for you. First, the issue with CRT and the woke agenda. The community does not want it. Every single week, many people has been coming here to say that. As a pastor of one of the largest Hispanic congregations in this county, which happens to lie in Mrs. Castillo's district, you can rest assured the Hispanic community does not want this because it is contrary to our culture and beliefs, especially our views in the family and protecting children. Second, it is your malfeasance and misfeasance regarding your obscene-laden literature in our schools, which could be described as nothing less than pornography. We had parents reading pornography here last week, and I was appalled by the body language, the way most of the members were not even paying attention. Some of you were on your phones, looking down, slouched in the chairs. That is very disrespectful, and we were not expecting that from this board. The majority of the school board have endorsed having these materials in our schools, and the community and your voters are outraged. The fact that you force parents to come and read this grotesque material should make you all ashamed of yourselves. And why do I say that? Because we have been coming here for a whole year, bringing the points and letting you know. And it is your job to know that those books were out there. We've been saying it over and over again. Even after that, only 4 books were removed. The lists are out there. Some of you came outside and asked for the list, but the lists have been out there for a very, very long time. They are public lists.
Morales.
Thank you very much.
The next person is Andrea Barba.
Hello, my name is Andrea Barba, 3659 Daydream Place. I was watching the meeting from home. Again, my husband was addressed. Prior to this meeting, when I came to speak before, we weren't to address the individual board member, but tonight everybody seems to be addressing them. So, Mr. Osceola, again, you brought up my husband. Been here a year. Beginning of the meetings, August, you were told the difference between vendor, oasis, and business partner. Again, once tonight, you try to harass us by putting them all in one category and saying that we should not be in the schools. There are 3 separate categories. We come to the school as business partners. We are not being paid, as you continue to say. You keep saying this. You show no facts that any contracts were made, anything was done. I waited. I know there's policies for everything, but every time a board meeting comes up, you happen to bring us up. You bring up peeing in a police car. That was, you were talking about me from 2004, only to harass, what you continue to do. You also had, now your message is getting to parents that came out and to speak, saying that we should not be in schools. But we're not during schools. We're at times in the school system where everybody can. Those parents that you spoke of that can't bring their children on a field trip are able to come to the events that we attend. Just like yourself, with your background, you're allowed to attend. And you're in the schools during school hours. But here we are, and you continue to harass us. Wait until your investigation is done, and then go proceed forward. But you don't. You continue and continue. Now you're bringing the public in here with your misinformation to try to ban us, only to fit whatever agenda you have. Now, granted, I know people get behind you because you try to bring them in, that you go with one topic. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here about us, and that's what I'm talking about. I know I would like for you to stop until it's addressed. It has been brought up to your attention that there's 3 separate issues, there's 3 separate categories. We fall under business partner, and we fit those guidelines. Until another law or whatever is made, then you should cease in discussing us. Because I'm tired of being harassed, liable, everything, slander, with you in these little meetings, all these other groups here in St. Cloud that you attend and discuss us. Enough's enough. And I'm done. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. The next person is Mr. Allen. I'm sorry, Lair Allen.
There's too much to say within 3 minutes, so for the next president, please give them more than 3 minutes. 722 Mabbitt, my name's Larry Allen. Just want to remind y'all of a couple things. First of all, we have some very talented students here in Osceola County. The best part of the school board meetings is probably, for me, when they come in here and perform for us. There are all kinds of talented students here in Osceola County. We also have talented educators here in Osceola County. Unless you've been in the trenches, you have no idea what miracles they perform every day just so their kids, our kids, your kids, get their best shot at success. There are actually a lot of programs that y'all have put into place that I wish I had when I was a kid back at Osceola High. Go Cowboys. As a dean, I spent countless hours building up my students and trying to get them to just get along with each other and figure out ways to move forward in life, even though life is giving you a whole lot of lemons. As a fifth grader, fifth grade teacher, we had this thing called skill streaming, sort of like character development, same things, structured play where you learn how to lose and be okay with losing and learn from that so you can be better next time around. If you were one of my students way back in the day when it was okay to give sentences, I hope I'm not telling on myself, Mr. Kroppenbacher, don't call the state on me. I used to have them.
You're a West Point grad.
I used to have them write sentences, right? But instead of like Bart Simpson, I will not talk in class, I chose a quote from Charles Swindoll. And it goes like this: the longer I live, the more I realize the impact of attitude on life. Attitude to me is more important than facts. It is more important than the past, than education, than money, than circumstances, than failures, than successes, than what other people think or say or do. It is more important than appearance, giftedness, or skill. It will make or break a company, a church, a home. The remarkable thing is we have a choice every day regarding the attitude we will embrace for that day. We cannot change our past. We cannot change the fact that people will act in a certain way. We cannot change the inevitable. The only thing we can do is play on the one string we have, and that is our attitude. I am convinced that life is 10% what happens to me and 90% how I react to it. And so it is with you. We are in charge of our attitudes. So I tried to drive that home. You could lay out everything in the world for these kids, for adults even. But at some point, you have to have some personal responsibility to go get it, to wrap your hand around it and bring it home. So that's what I tried to do, and I just want to remind you one more time, we have some great people here in Osceola County. Thank you.
This concludes our public comment section. Mr. Kroppenbacher, do you have any additional comments, any reports that we need to review?
No reports, members of the board.
Thank you. We do not have any unfinished business. Mr. Melendez, you had a discussion.
Yes.
Okay, I'll start with you.
In regards to the new policy that was being enforced for the books and the rating system, but also looking at the process for approval of when books get into library, and also the removal policy for going to a committee and going through that process, I believe needs to be addressed. And I actually read the Supreme Court case. There were some references to it earlier, and you know, obviously I'm not a lawyer, but I was able to read it, and they make the courts at the time had made a distinction between books and curriculum that is inside the classroom, where it's obligatory, where the children don't have a choice of what books to read, versus those in the library where it's more voluntary or choice for them to do there. So it looks like there was a distinction there. However, one thing they did mention also was in their criteria for looking at books. I want to make sure that our criteria kind of lines up with that, and we can talk about it in the future. Differences of opinion, political matters, you know, LGBTQ status, whatever the situation is, that is protected material. So if I sit there and say, I believe in communism, you know, even though it's not the socially accepted norm, that's still a difference of opinion that needs to be respected according to the Supreme Court. Where they make the distinguishing factor for them in the way that I read it was that there's a certain vulgarity or vulgar tests or graphic material. And some of the material that we heard last week was borderline pornographic. And so that's where there's a distinction. So it's not LGBTQ. If there is LGBTQ books, then that cannot be the basis for removing that book. That is not that is not America. That is not democracy, and that's not what the Supreme Court says. Only if it elevates to a stature where you're borderline pornographic, because at that point, it's not exactly free speech. So I just want to make sure that at the next board meeting, we kind of discuss, or have, Frank or somebody kind of discuss the policy, because we do have a committee that reviews books, but we want to make sure that the standards that they're applying are in fact in line with the Supreme Court decision. So I think that's very important. And also from a procedural standpoint, somebody had mentioned the fact that the superintendent had created a rating system. And I do believe in that rating system, because that is in alignment with the Supreme Court rendering that, you can't really just ban a book. There has to be an extenuating circumstance for that. But from a procedural standpoint, I don't know if the superintendent has that authority to unilaterally do that. So maybe, but I do support it though. So just making sure things are done technically correct, because I'm that kind of board member. I like to be, technicality and processes matter. And so if we need to maybe have Mr. Boyd amend school board rules to specifically define that, then I'm okay with that as well. So that way, because there was a question, is does the superintendent have authority to unilaterally make a policy that's applied to the entire district?
Dr. Pace has asked to meet with me and go through everything, and we'll come back to the next meeting and lay it all out. Just for the benefit of the board, the interesting thing about that Supreme Court decision is they couldn't get 5 of the 9 judges to agree on anything. So the 11th Circuit, which we're in, entered a decision and basically said, and it's the first time I've ever read it, but it is true, it has no precedent value, the Supreme Court decision, because they couldn't agree.
Okay.
But the 11th Circuit, it gives you an insight into the issues. The 11th Circuit does provide guidance for us, so we'll brief you all at the next meeting.
Because even then, I just like to create standards, so that way, we're being proactive about it too. So it's the looking at the books before they even enter the school district, and then the review process of, whether or not somebody needs to, challenge it. And if they do challenge it, that we're applying standards that are appropriate. And just out of my personal belief, I'm just one board member, I do believe that should be a graphic, or pornographic limitation to a certain point. I mean, some of those things were very, very extreme, but how to define that, I don't know how to define that, but I just think that collectively as a board, that's maybe something that we can discuss. And so that way we're being very open and honest with the public about what we believe is appropriate to be in the schools. But it's not based on the content. I don't care if it's LGBTQ, I don't care if it's racial, I don't care if it's Democrats versus Republicans, I don't care if it's communism. That should not be the basis of whether a book is there or not. The basis should be on, is it pornography, or is it like extreme violence? So it's not based on opinion of the content, but rather on the extremeness of the presentation.
Thank you for your comments. Dr. Pace, your light is on.
Just for clarity's purpose, I have not developed a rating sheet, anything separate than what was already in policy 4.30, in terms of the fact that we will develop the district-wide committee instead of a school-based committee. They will read the books, and there's specific criteria within that policy, a form that they will review in order to reach consensus and bring forward a recommendation to the board. The legislation also does require that we formalize our current procedures for media collections through board policy. So that is something that we'll be working on with the board throughout the summer. DOE, we had our superintendent's conference last week. DOE was there, and Chancellor Oliva did promise that there would be some technical assistance coming out for school districts and school boards. We said sooner rather than later, but he assured us that we'd at least have it by June. And then in addition, there will be Department of Education training that's developed that will be required for all media specialists by the conclusion of December 22. So there's still some things in the works here, but it will be a policy decision on the board about our procedures for adding to our media collections, and then also determining what criteria we want to put into place for those types of things. So just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Thank you, Dr. Pace.
I do have a follow-up question about the review process. Technically is supposed to at some point go to the book review committee that we have all chosen someone from. what, do we know what the criteria is for them to determine, or is it just subjective?
At this point, we would engage them in discussion, but we will have the formal district book committee actually read the books and prepare a report to take to that curriculum review committee. Because the process calls for the books to be evaluated in their entirety,
Right.
not excerpts.
Right. I do mention that because I did read some of the books, and it was interesting, the
And-
passages that were selected
And
versus
Madam
what the
Chair,
book was
that's
about.
exactly what my point
Yeah.
was, to create standards, so that way they're applying the standards that we
Right,
create.
that's what I'm saying. I would like to have some kind of standard instead of just a subjective opinion about whether or not something needs to be banned or taken out of circulation. Mr. Bass,
I'm sorry?
did you have anything?
Oh, I didn't push my button, but I'll add to the conversation. You know, this is a tough one, only because, you know, I'm an older parent. I was 38 when my daughter was born. So the world that I grew up in is not the world that my daughter grew up in. She grew up in a totally digital world. She had, I mean, I think the iPhones came out probably, I think, the year they were born. We got to have parental responsibility as well. We're going to do the best that we can to circumvent, and I will tell you, audience, the books that you read, that's the first I heard of it when you came up to and I believe that every one of us sitting on this board would not agree to have any of those books in circulation, didn't know they were there.
Well,
And I appreciate.
You need to read the book.
Well, I understand, but I appreciate
book.
I appreciate the public engagement. But I also know that I could probably walk into any elementary school and walk up to a fifth grade class and somewhere in the class and pick up one of their phones, and they don't put any kind of parental parameters on there, and they can look at, you know, this is a loaded weapon. It really and truly is, and it's sad that we've come into the world that way. I've always tried to be open with my daughter, and I explained to her, look, you're going to be seeing some of these things, and you know we're a very open family. We discuss things, so this is just a tough road for us because we're serving as educators, but we're also serving as parents as well. It seems like in certain cases, and that's kind of what I'll have to say about that front now.
Thank you. Mr. Arguello?
Yes, thank you. Madam Chair, let me know if my button's working because it's not really having an effect over here. So,
Your button is working. You're
Okay, thank you.
recognized. Thank you.
So, for one, I don't think the Safety and Security Committee is the right design to address the issues that it was earlier. I just want to bring that up. Only because it wasn't designed for that purpose, right? So the safety and security issues that we're talking about are not SRO issues or whatever. I think that's something that needs to be aligned. I think what Mr. Garris mentioned earlier, that we need actual school employees to be on that committee as well. Maybe 6 deans or 6 teachers or the people who are actually dealing with these committees need to be put on that. So let me get back to the issue that we're discussing right now, and somebody mentioned the Bible. Well, the Bible was banned in our schools, just in case anybody's sure. We don't have any Bibles in our schools, right? So it wasn't necessarily because of the description that was read, but apparently someone is so offended by the Bible that they thought that it should be out. Okay, fine. Not here, obviously that's a nationwide issue, right? But it is banned. So there's also a technical aspect which has to be addressed, which I think that at the next board meeting we're going to do, right? It's also important to consider the fact that a child can misunderstand more than they understand, okay? So when we're talking about some of these books, right? Somebody mentioned Looking for Alaska. How old was the student that read Looking to Alaska, right? Are we talking a 13-year-old? Are we talking a 10-year-old? Are we talking an 8-year-old? What are we talking about, right? So we can talk about, well, we should, we're going to go through this review process, and I want there to be a standard, and I read the whole book, and the whole book is okay, but that one picture of kids having sex, that might, you got to overlook that part so that you can enjoy the rest of the poetry in the book. We have to err on the side of caution in protecting kids. That's our number one responsibility. In the end, if we're not protecting our kids from things that could legitimately be described as pornography, then who's going to trust us with their kids? It's already, in case anyone didn't notice, We had a bunch of kids come in here that have concerns. I don't know about the allegations, the details of the allegations or whatever, but the fact is people are coming with their concerns, and now we're having these things in literature, in black and white, literally, between two book covers, in our libraries for people to discuss. It has nothing to do with LGBT. That has nothing to do with it. It doesn't matter if it's straight or gay or whatever. The fact is we should not have pornography in our books. And I don't know how much of a book you can read. What about those pictures? What about the pictures that we've seen, diagrams describing to kids, explaining to kids, teaching kids how to have sexual acts? That's okay? That's okay? I mean, I don't understand what kind of review process so you're going to gather up all of whatever group of people to come in to read an entire book and then explain to you why 90% of the book makes the fact that it has one scene of pornography okay. Well, then rip the page of pornography out. Rip all the pages out then that you think are inappropriate. I think that's ridiculous because in the end, our job is to protect these kids. We're not doing a great job of it. We're already not doing a great job, and I don't think it could be any clearer than this evening here. Certainly, if a child who can misunderstand is looking at some of these books that even their older sibling brings home, well, that could create a problem for that child, I think. And I don't understand. This is a weapon here. Okay. We're not in control of this. I don't know if anybody needs to be told that. We're not in control of these for the kids. The parents are. The kids are. Okay? We're not in control of this. We are in control of the books that we have in our libraries. That is our responsibility. It's our responsibility to monitor and police ourselves of filth, what they used earlier in the description. Okay? But even in 1939, and I don't know, I didn't go back and look at the book that was recalled in the Supreme Court case, did they have pictures of people performing sexual acts in a school?
You're talking to a lawyer who believes the Supreme Court of the United States has done significant damage to parental rights. Right. I don't agree with a lot of the decisions. I don't think children have rights other than to be safe. And the reality is we are legally obligated to have a process to review books and to decide what's appropriate and what's not. And at the end of the day, it is this board that will have the ultimate authority if there is a question about a book.
Here's what's broken down here, okay, is the relationship between teachers and parents, okay, which was the most valuable relationship a district had with its community. The relationship between a teacher and a parent was the most valuable relationship a district has with its community. And that relationship is being completely watered down so that we can provide a beautiful PR picture every time something goes wrong, anytime you go through bargaining, anytime any situation happens. We have a tremendously intelligent little attorney who's very gifted come up and protect the school district, and we can just talk everything away, do a 40-page PowerPoint presentation on why we should be okay having some kind of committee to decide that pornography shouldn't be allowed in schools, okay? Maybe we simplify it a little bit, just back to what our mission should be, right? Number one, protect your kids when they're in your possession. Number two, teach them the education that they need, right? Number three, don't harm them as a backup, right? And apparently we're failing on all three of those aspects. We have a charter school which is performing better than our school, which we're closing. I know that you have concerns with why they're being closed, not being closed, or whatever. The fact is they're outperforming us with no money, apparently. We have $2 billion. Okay, but let's not talk about that because it's not really what I'm...
I will challenge that statement because I've seen the records.
Okay.
Go ahead.
But we're going to have to overcomplicate pornography in schools now. Okay, and I want the LGBT community to hear me very clear. I'm not passing judgment. I don't have any right to pass judgment on anybody's lifestyle. That's ridiculous. I don't do that, okay? I am the most imperfect human being in this room, although I am provided with a stiff challenge. But the fact is, okay, This is about small children or kids that are not sufficiently developed emotionally and mentally to be looking at things that are suggestive, right? Sexually. That's all. Don't make it more complicated than that, okay? People, and I completely understand there's people from the community that they're interested in the process and so on. I get that. But this is not about phones versus whatever. You know what? That's my son right there, okay? My son is sitting right there, right? Did I ever have discussions with my son and say, hey, don't go look at pornography when you're at school, but look at pornography in my house? No. When my son graduated from his high school, okay, I expected, and I was not elected at that time, I expected for you to be taking care of my son. That was my expectation. I didn't want to have to go through some committee. I didn't want to have some BS dialogue. Oh, let's call a committee of 100 community members down together and let's read the entire book to see if these two kids performing sexual acts is appropriate. My expectation was that you were taking care of my kid. If I had known better, I would have driven 100 miles to take my son to a school that I could trust where he was being protected at whatever age. At whatever age and whatever distance. I think it's ridiculous. You guys are overplaying your hand on this. The community doesn't want their kids looking at pornography because you guys think that the literature on both sides of the pornography is okay or entertaining.
I don't think that's what was said here. I think that my concern is context, and I actually am concerned for other parents that don't have the opportunity to be here, who have contacted me and want to make sure that they go through the process.
Right.
So while you speak for some folks, other people on this board speak for other people who may not be here to express their opinions. And one of the things that they are worried about is that we need to go through a process to make sure that every voice is heard.
Great.
So let's make sure that we speak for everyone.
Yeah, and I hate to,
Thank
this is a
you.
long meeting also, but in the Supreme Court
Thank you,
case
Mr.
also, it said process was important, so you're not targeting. If you don't have a process in place, you unilaterally
That
discriminate
case isn't
against one
valid.
book. I know, but it's still a
Okay.
good point, though. It's a great point that the justice has made. One of the ideas was that with the process in place, you don't target a group. Because at the time, there were people that were mad about a certain subject. Then people would target books on that certain subject. We don't want to target people. We have a right to have free expression. Now, if it raises above the level of whatever, that's why you have a process in place.
You have to be
But
18
not
to
one
go buy
person-
pornography, right?
Yes, and
So-
if the committee looks at the pornography, they say no, and they get rid of it. It's that simple. That's why you have to do it. That's why the process is there. Now, if the process isn't working, if they're not applying our standard, then that's a different story. So if the committee looked at a book and said, okay, that was the issue, nobody submitted it to the committee. So if somebody submits it to the committee, they review it, and they determine that it's pornographic, then they pull it. Or if they, so that's the reason why you have a process. That's why they exist. And that way,
So
you're
we
not
don't
being
have a process for that, but, we don't have a process for kids intaking information like sexual assault, bullying
We
on a
do have a
constant.
process for
We
that.
don't, I'm speaking, we don't have a record, a written record sometimes, or a report that has what we're doing to protect our kids. But when it comes down to, oh, well, we can't, in order to protect a kid from this pornography, we're gonna have to go through a committee. Well, then let's have the exact same process to review how we're dealing with kids and their complaints. Let's do that. I'd love to make that trade. Let's have a committee, get together of community members, so that we can make sure that our kids are being protected, and let them and this other committee that you want to do, let them battle it out. Okay, let's do that. So that we know. A child protection committee for the Osceola County School District, because that might be the most important committee in this entire district.
Mr. Koppenbacher, and then I think we are ready to adjourn. Every board member has spoken. Thank you.
Could we wait to the next meeting? Because I really want to get with the superintendent, vet the processes, and brief you on the law. We're mandated by applicable law to have a process. Nobody agreed with what we heard last time, all right? Now you just expedite things. But the reality is we have to have that process to protect for those people, and I will say it, the ACLU who would march in
It's
here
not
and
the
challenge
ACLU, Frank. It's other parents in the school district. It's not far away people. It's people who live in this district who want to process.
Madam Chairman, I'm talking as a
I
lawyer.
understand that, but
They
I
filed
don't
the
want you-
suit in the Supreme Court case. I'm just saying, parents are concerned too.
Right.
I understand that. You have to have a process. If you don't, you're going to subject
We
yourself
all agree that we have
to
a
an attack.
process, but I want to make it clear to people that are watching and to you that it's not the ACLU I'm concerned with. I'm concerned with parents in the school district
We all are.
who want a process and who do not agree with some of the things that were said. They have a voice as well. And with that, we're adjourning the meeting.
We still got, hey, Madam Chair, we still got board member comments.
We just did that.
No, we did new business.
I just adjourned, I'm sorry. We just did board member comments. Sorry.